Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Hey, you guys. It is late. It is almost 10 here. So I know it's got to be late where a lot of you guys are. But we're going to go through some of these documents tonight. Hey there, DKM. Hey, Michelle. Hey, I've got something to say. Hey, MV. Hey, Vivian. Hey, LG. Hey, T-Coon. Hey, KB. Yeah, we're going to go through. I'm hoping we get through to the 115 like I have on the screen. I want to make sure that we go through at least 20 at a time when we do open these up. Hey there, Elizabeth. Hey, Wicked Wild. Hey there, Deb. Yeah, there's some of these people that are super cray-cray. Like, some of the comments in here are so wild. It's the ones that that really drive me crazy. Not really drive me crazy, honestly, but like the most hysterical to me are the ones that are like telling me that I need to stop talking about the case and that I'm basically like crazy or psycho or some sort of weirdo for talking about the case so much. But like, it's a novel. It's like this long. I read the first sentence and I'm just like, I'm not wasting my breath, my time, my life, my precious minutes. I reclaim my time. I'm not doing this. This is the most ironic stuff. There's people out there so reaching on some crazy things too. I've seen a lot of stuff where they're really just trying to like justify some things. And I'm just like, y'all have been fangirling for these little blondies way too much because you're blinded. I don't see how we can have the documents that claim all of the phone activity and everything that was going on in between that 4:30 time frame and the time that the call got finally made, and then listen to them literally lie to the police straight off the bat and only worry about their own self-preservation and not really give a single shit about any real thing happening here. And everyone is still like babying them. These grown people that were living on their own, that were paying bills, that were doing adult things, like why? Why? These two girls apparently were pretty book smart, as far as what I'm being told. So the dumbass, the blonde, it's fake as shit. The I'm this little sweet innocent, oh, I just don't know what I'm doing thing is bullshit. I don't understand a lot of this insanity that's out here. Like, even for the people that fully on believe that Bryan Kohberger did this by himself, no one else could possibly be involved, and he's actually somehow the guy that was able to pull all of this off, for them to sit there and just not ask questions and be like, so you really did lie and say that you were asleep. And you actually did hear, like, literally everything, screaming, struggle, someone out the window. Like, you were very in the moment. You were both very much aware of what was going on, and you still chose 8 hours later, and you still didn't do the 911 call yourself. Someone else had to convince you to do it. Someone else had to tell you to call the cops. I don't understand the stupidity. And a lot of people say stupid shit like, well, if this was your kid, and I'm like, what if this was your kid that was the dumbass who did not call 911? What if this was your kid that literally came out to national television and the entire world heard that they not only heard everything, but saw the person, saw them walk out, saw the crazy shit that was going on. You both had a shared experience, and your child was the asshole. The for some reason chose not to call the cops, is so scared that they have to run down and be in another room with another person, is so freaked out that they're literally verbalizing in text messages how freaked out they are. And still no one called the cops. No one bothered to get help. Collectively, the two of you just decided not to. What if that was your kid? I would be pretty pissed. I'd be like, damn, I failed. I thought I taught them better than this. I thought I prepared them better than this. I thought that they knew better than this. Where's their common sense I thought I instilled in them? I would be embarrassed. if this were my kid that did not call the cops, especially after listening to everything that came out in that body cam. Okay. And I'm the mother of an 18-year-old. I can say that. I know my kid would not have done this. For a fact. For a fact. For a damn fact. Hey there, Annie. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Sadie. So that's what's like insane to me. TBD is Vampire Diaries. That's what the girls were apparently watching right before all this crap went down. And a lot of people are finding episodes. I've seen some clips of episodes playing on Twitter, but it's not Damon saying it. It's the brother, Stefan, that says it in the clip. So I'm also like pretty positive it's said like lots of times. I'm pretty sure it is. I've watched it a couple different times. I've watched all the seasons, and then they had some like other shows that came from it. They had the originals. I think y'all were talking about that in there. Ariel liked Klaus. It's like she likes Damon. She likes the bad boys. And then they had another one. I think it was Legacies that y'all mentioned too. Is that the one where it's like the daughter of Klaus and the werewolf girl is now like grown up or whatever, something like that. But yeah, I know they had like some other shows too. But that's just what they said that they were watching, and it wasn't airing anymore back then. At that point, hey there, Caramel. At this point, hey Moovale. At this point, it wasn't air like on TV. The series and everything was done and over with, so you were watching it on like Netflix and stuff like that, basically, or wherever they were watching it. Some app. They had to have been watching it on some app, which means that they probably could go in and see the history. Honestly, because they took the damn TV. So they'd be able to go in and see like what app they actually used to watch TV that night, go back and get the episode and see which one they actually watched and listen to the transcript, or go back and watch the whole damn episode and see if it was said in that. Because I just find it interesting that people just like that, like we're finding the episodes where this was actually said. It's like, damn, these people are quick with it. Super quick. Hey, Lorena. Hey, Pokey Dots. Hey there, Keith McConnell. Hey, Plastique. It's still in the works. So I tried to like put some little bitty plant things out with some seeds in it. I think I even made it put a picture on the other channel, but none of them ever seeded. And I kind of thought they were old because they came with me from where we moved from. And they've been in the garage the whole time. But I didn't know if they were like still good or what was going to happen. So I tried it with like the dirt method and nothing happened. Just the beans. Like the beans are the only ones that like went crazy. And then I tried to seed them like a new set after those didn't do anything. I like just put those in like my dirt pile, like my compost pile, and then tried to seed some more with the same way that I did the other beans. And they didn't work either. So I'm just assuming that all of those seeds were just bad. Which is honestly fine because I haven't gotten the chance to actually like have time to build what I need to build when it comes to the garden bed. So having the beans right now and then knowing that I still have like I can start doing like the seasons off fresh seed. I can find like the local seeds here to use and start with those. I was just really hoping that I could still utilize the stuff I did have. And I tried 2 different ways and it just didn't work out. So now we're going to go a different avenue. And hopefully that works, which I don't see why they wouldn't because it'll be fresh stuff. So it should be just fine. Yes, everything is driving me insane. Hey there, Ample Spark. Hey, Cammy. Yes, absolutely wild. It's like there's stuff about it that I constantly think about. And it's always the timeline. The timeline itself. Especially like every single time we get like a little bit of new something. That 11/12 footage is wild to listen to. That's for sure. I can't blame you. I know that it's so super late. Hey there, Holly Tate. Hey, Bobby. Hey, Nona. Yeah, me too. You liked Rebecca. Hey there, Isef. Oh my goodness. It's almost 4 a.m. That's crazy. Hey there, Kirsty. Yeah. Austin Drummond. Yeah, I know all about that. They're saying now that he contacted Nick Barris, who was the big journalist guy. I guess really like every case that kind of goes crazy, there's usually like one mainstream guy that usually like is the mainstream guy. Nick Barris, who's the mainstream guy for the Sebastian Rogers case because of the location. This Austin Drummond guy, he is the one that was in prison for some crazy shit, has like really deep affiliations. When they showed his picture of him being in prison, he had like a whole store behind him. And that's how it is. Like these prison guys like acclimate, okay? And like everyone's like, oh, he's going to have like no TV, no tablet, no nothing. No, he's going to have a whole shelf full of shit because that's how it works. They're literally like mini cities. It's all, everything that's an object is currency. And this guy had like Nikes and Jordans and like name brand shit in the prison. That's life. Okay. That's how this really works. So these prison sentences and stuff to a certain extent don't mean shit because they're all affiliated. They're all in there because they're all criminals and they all still have their affiliations with the outside and money talks. So these guards let shit happen all the time. Like it's literally like nothing for them to be in prison. It really isn't a big deal once they get like settled in. Okay. Especially people like that. But with him, now he's claiming that he was an informant and something went wrong. And that's why he went on the run instead of just coming forward because they were going to take his life too. But I don't understand how they would have let him get away in the first place for him to have been the one to drop off the baby in that front yard because that's who it is, right? Like he's the one who dropped off the baby. So if like somebody that you like snitched on or did something wrong to, like took everyone's life right in front of you, I don't see why they would let you leave and then let you leave with a baby, unless their rules are they don't take children's lives. But it was weird. Like that whole thing is weird. So I mean, I know there's people talking about it now since that happened because again, like he called Nick Barris from like inside the jail because they caught him like a couple weeks ago or whatever. And that's the story is that he was like, he's the fall guy. He didn't really do it. He was on the run for his own life or some shit like that. Yeah, it's wild. I pay attention to a lot of cases I don't have time to talk about. Like I know that there's updates with Jack and Lily where apparently now like Daniel like heard a scream that was apparently told to the cops, but you know not told to anyone else. And there's some documents and stuff that came out up there, but only the news people are getting them, and no one's really seen them. We're just sort of hearing like what's going on. Like I know the updates on lots of stuff. I just never have the time to do the damn update. But I know it's out there. Yeah. We might look into that one a little bit more because that is an interesting take. Just like I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with Letcher County too. I'm waiting for that one to go to trial. If it goes to trial, I guess I need to see what the criminal, like what the courtroom law, like what the court update is. But I know there's been a bunch more people coming out that were involved or like on the bad end of all that crazy shit that have been coming out and talking more. Lots of crazy shit everywhere. Lots of crazy, literally everywhere. 11 in South Carolina, 8 p.m. where you are, 10:50 where you are. Almost 11 there. I saw something on Twitter today that said somebody gave Steve Goncalves the camera footage that apparently shows Molly pulling into the King Road parking lot. But I haven't seen that proven or verified, but there's like a lot of people talking about it. Not where we are. My allergies have been okay. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like his cover was blown and it was retaliation. That's what he's saying now, which is insane. I mean, he has deep gang affiliation, so you almost like want to believe it. But I don't know the ins and outs. I just know like parts of like what was being talked about on like Twitter and Facebook. We might look more into that. Oh, well, thank you, Kiki. Thank you. I appreciate that. Reclaim my time in peace. Yeah, there's been some interesting things that they're coming out with. Way too much stuff. Yeah, that's why we're going through all of the stuff that even if it seems Like, it doesn't have, like, any relevance. Like, I still wanna know, like, what it says if it's an official document. That's why, like, I know a lot of people, a lot of channels will go into, like, these document drops, and they'll just go and they'll just grab, like, what they deem important. That's fine. But don't not show everything either. I don't like that. I mean, I know that people do it for, like, a time saver, and a lot of people do like the fact that it's just like, "Oh, it's just the nuggets." But that's just, like, their personal opinion on what's important. Something that I might find important, somebody else might not find important, or the other way around. Something that I completely, skip over, like, you guys in chat will be like, "Oh, wait a minute, what did that say? What did that say?" And it didn't really hit me that it was important, and then we go back and reread it, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I get why that's important." And sometimes I see things and, maybe some people think I'm a little bit crazy for feeling like it's important, but details are really important to me. Especially again, like I like the 24 before and 24 after to be as clear as possible because to me that's the most important when it comes to like ratio for error, ratio for mistake, ratio for like the game of telephone to go so stupid. And look how dumb it went. Look how dumb it went in like 2.5 hours. We haven't heard her say a word about it's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you. None of that was said on that body cam. Now, granted, that's just Nunez's body cam, but that's her original statement. So then we had Blaker, who I don't remember off the bat, and I went through a whole bunch of different MPD documents today trying to like find Blaker's report. I don't remember which one it was. I didn't find it, but I'm still indexing, so when I get to it, I'll just note it. But I haven't seen like whenever he actually got on scene, like actually got on scene, or when he even talked to her, for him to have then turned around and been the one to have told Talbot, whenever Talbot got to the scene at 2:47-ish, what was actually going on and what was said, because he was called to the police department with Payne around like 1:30. Well, it says like around 13:30 hours, the interviews were going to start beginning. Like the people for the interviews were going to start. And then it says at 13:48, he, which is John Lawrence, called Blaker and Payne to the police department. So I'm like, okay, well, where did they go to the police department from? Like, were they at the scene because they needed everybody at the scene? And then they were called away from the scene? Like, when did all of that actually happen with all of that back and forth? And again, where did he hear anything about her saying that? And why is he the one telling Talbot anything? Because that game of telephone got screwed up real fast. Like, damn. Damn. Makes you just really be like, we don't need to deal with these reports, these human errors. Like, I know that AI sucks, but AI is going to be able to go in and watch a video and transcribe it perfectly without missing a word, without adding a word, without elaborating or exaggerating a detail on something that's not necessary. It's going to be able to read the inflections. It's going to be able to read the facial expressions. It's going to be able to lay it out as unbiased as possible, in my opinion. And to me, even though, again, AI and technology and shit is scary, the way that these humans make these mistakes and lie about things, elaborate things, put things in that don't belong there, and change the way that the entire thing is, the whole everything after that, that one domino changes the entire direction of a statement, of a scenario, because of the way that the human brain does things, causes so many problems. So if eyewitness accounts are really just like not that great in court, then why are police officer eyewitness accounts so great in court when they're just as humanly imperfect as a regular witness? That's why like body cam and stuff should always just be on 24/7 and that be the only thing that matters. Whatever you say in your report is just straight up your opinion. I don't want your walkthrough. I don't want your timestamps. That's what we got the technology for. Just give me your opinion. Just give me your take, but don't try to make this technical. Is how this should probably go. Because these police reports are taken as a fact because we're told that it's a fact. It's a police report. It's evidence. It's truth. It's fact. But then look how much it's not. They've got to change things because it's just too not. It doesn't work. This just doesn't work. They need to fix it. They need to definitely fix it. That part. Yeah, like I'm so scared of technology, but it's because of the humans that I know are in control of the technology that I don't like technology. Like it all goes back to the human. That's another thing too, and a lot of them will lie. Look how easy it was for Payne to just be like, okay. I mean, as far as we knew, he was the one that the judge, like at the end of the day, whenever the judge told the state and the prosecution, that's the same. I don't know why I keep doing that. The state and the defense to like come up with a narrative they could both sleep with at night. And then they picked Payne to be the one to tell the lie. And I'm just like, he was going to get on the stand, raise his right hand, put a freaking hand on a Bible or something and take an oath and then lie his ass off. And it was going to be marked into a court document like it was a fact. No, this is that clearly Canadian sparkling water. These are usually like buy one, get one free. I didn't want to show like the label because like a lot of people, I guess it doesn't honestly matter. I'm just a YouTube channel. Like I have sponsors for stuff, but I can still show things and not be like, oh my God, not sponsored. I guess it's like trying to like copy the behavior that I always see. But no, I like drinking these because then I can use them as waterers. They like you fill these with water and then you stick them down into the dirt in like a bigger planter and it helps like water your plant slowly because it just goes like with however the dirt absorbs the moisture is how it comes out. So I always just get these because I always have a coupon for buy one, get one free at Kroger. And I like the strawberry flavored one. So that's what that is. So no, it's not alcohol. Unfortunately, because damn, it's been a stressful weekend. Shit. Yeah, they're really good. They've gotten expensive. Like I remember these used to be kind of like a thing back in like when I was younger. And I remember they were like 80 cents or some shit like that. And now they're like almost $3 a piece. Hence why I only use them. I only really get them when I have a coupon because damn. Okay, we're going to start reading these. Hey, Heather. We're going to start reading these. Ooh, the blackberry one is super good. For some reason, I just always like strawberry. Strawberry is probably like my go-to flavor for pretty much everything because it's really hard for them to screw it up. So if I'm going to try something new, I usually try strawberry first. But I've always gotten these strawberry ones. Bro, yes. Yeah, and then they went to 3 for $1, and now they're 2 for $1, and or no, now they're like 2 for $1.50 or some crap like that. What? I get mine at Kroger. I think they have them at Walmart. I think they have them at Walmart, but Kroger has them in the singles, and then they also have them in the 4-pack. I haven't tried the peach one. No, you're right. You're actually white. You're right. There was no knife whenever he first walked down the thing with Hunter Johnson. You can't even see that like anything in his hands. So I'm going to assume he had it in like his kangaroo pocket of his hoodie because it wasn't there. And then it goes black. It goes back and forth because those redactions. It makes it kind of difficult because they're right there at Xana's door whenever it is happening. And some of the stuff they mute. So I don't personally hear him say anything about putting it down. 2 people commented that they could hear it. I couldn't hear it. I'll listen to it again to see if I hear it, but I was expecting to hear him tell him to put it on the table, and I personally did not hear him say that. But then it does look like it just like magically appears like on the table. You don't see him take it out of his pocket. You don't see it in Hunter's hand. It just like magically shows up. And another thing is that like he's on like this side of the table, and the way that the knife is put down, like it's like Hunter's on this side. Here's the triangle of cups, and the knife goes like gets put on this side. So it's like he like reached all the way over to those cups and put it down if he did do it that way. But we don't see any of it, which is wild. I don't know why we didn't see that. Like, why can't you show us him putting the knife down on the table? Kind of odd. Everything is odd with this stupid case. I'm so tired of it. We can't have like one thing go simple. We can't have one thing go simple. Okay. So when we left off, I don't even, what was it, like Thursday, I think? Thursday morning. We went over some documents. I wasn't able to come on Thursday night like I wanted to, and then I came back Friday night, and I believe that's whenever we went over the body cam footage. Then this morning, or earlier this afternoon, we went over the ISP photos, the second attachment that they dropped on their public website. So it's been some days since we've gone over these. So it's been since Thursday morning. That's what I was trying to figure out. And we stopped at 95. So we're going to go ahead and start here on supplement number 96. This is page 281. This is with Detective Lehman. On November 18th, her, along with ISP Detective Jacob Schwecke, interviewed somebody with the year of birth of 1996 in their apartment in Moscow. This person is a suspect from a 2022 incident in which he verbally threatened a female University of Idaho student on a sidewalk. Is this the guy? Oh, is this the guy that was like dressed in all black with a knife on the bike trail? Yeah, I remember him. I know he said something about having the knife, but I don't hear the officer tell him. Oh, I remember Fruitopia. I don't remember hearing the officer tell him to put it down. But they could have they did do a lot of muting right there. I just didn't personally hear it. But like I said, we're going to end up going back over the whole thing again after we watch the extended 11/12 footage. But we do have a members only live tomorrow. Because tomorrow's August 25th, the last Monday of the month. So I'll probably do the members only live like earlier in the afternoon at some point, and then we'll do a later evening live to go over documents, I think. That's probably what we'll do. Okay. At 2040 hours, I located Blake at his apartment, and he agreed to come out and speak to me. The interview was not recorded. Well, that's beautiful. Okay. Blank said he was at work at blank until 23:30 hours on 11/12/22. Blank met with his girlfriend Blank at John's Alley Bar. Blank was unsure of times in the early morning hours after leaving the bar, but confirmed a Moscow Police Department officer gave Blank and him a ride to Blank apartment due to her amount of intoxication. So you were at the bar where the girls were supposed to go. They didn't go, but you were at the bar they were supposed to go to. And your chick was so intoxicated the cops brought you home? Okay. Blank walked home from Blank's apartment and remained in his apartment, waking at 13 to 1400 hours on November 13th, 2022. Blank said Blank was in the apartment with him and was still there sleeping when Blank left in the afternoon hours of November 13th, 2022. So they went, I'm confused about this statement. So the police officers gave him and his chick a ride. Did they go to her apartment? And then they walked to his apartment and fell asleep? Because it's talking about how somebody was still there and sleeping with him. Okay, you know what? We're just going to keep on continuing because that's wild. Okay. Blank said he learned of the homicides from the news and from others in the area. He did not know the victims and did not spend time with any of the college students. Blank removed his sweatshirt, showing me his arms and his neck. There were no marks on Blank's arm, neck, or face. Well, it sounds like he had a wild enough night. Anyway, all right. All right, so now we have number 97. Same person. But it's like, oh, wow. From the 18th to the 23rd. Okay. November 23rd, 2022. This detective retrieved DNA swabs collected by the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office from Blank with a year of birth of 1983. I transported the swabs to Moscow Police Department and placed the evidence in their control. The swabs were collected by pathologist Sean Ricardo during Blank's autopsy. Due to Blank's unusual behavior leading up to his death, is this Ricardo or Ricardo? Ricardo. I'm going to guess Ricardo. And his staff felt it necessary to secure his DNA sample and provide it to the Moscow homicide investigators. I immediately transported the package swabs from Spokane and delivered them to the Moscow Police Department MPD evidence staff on November 23rd, 2022. MPD staff member Cassie Macy entered the evidence into the MPD system. The photographs I took show chain of custody have been saved to a disk and will be given to MPD for attachment to this supplement. Is this the guy from the car accident that had been missing for like a week or so before the whole thing happened? Because there was like an accident and he was found walking around in the field or something, right? And his mom said that he like used to have issues and he'd been sober for like a super long time. But then all of a sudden he like left the house and they hadn't heard from him for like a week. I don't remember which one that was. I don't remember which document that was, but I feel like we probably went over that in the last live because it feels sort of fresh. I'll have to look for it later. But I remember that. That one was pretty interesting because he like, I think somebody had said that at some point something was mentioned or the person had said something about the homicides. That might have been one of the other stories though. Yeah, but that one was interesting because they did get a call about that. I think an FBI person had actually like called them, or maybe there was like, no, it was a nurse from the hospital where the guy ended up coming in on air flight and he ended up dying at the hospital. But something about like the way his body looked, the way his injuries were, she felt the need to call them and give them like a tip about it. So it is interesting. I'd like to know more about that. I mean, it's probably completely not related, but it's interesting in itself. Okay, so now we have supplement number 98. December 7th, 2022, ISP Detective Leslie Lehman and ISP Detective Tim Snell interviewed Blank with the year birth 2003 in continuation of the homicide investigation in Moscow. Blank's name was reported via the TIP program as a person who knew Ethan and was described as odd. I called Blank, who agreed to come to the ISP District 1 office in Coeur d'Alene to be interviewed. 19-year-old white male. Okay. Interview began at 13:53 hours. Blank said he was no longer attending the University of Idaho as he was preparing to leave North Idaho to join the Navy. Blank confirmed his current address at Blank in Rathdrum, Idaho, and there's the zip code. Blank was roommates and Blank with Blank, who was Blank, reporting the unresponsive persons at 1122 King Street on 11/13/2022. Huh? Blank was roommates and Blank with Blank, who was Blank. Is this Bethany Funk? Is this Bethany's name? I can understand what this statement's trying to tell me. This person was roommates and also something else with somebody who was something related to the reporting of the unresponsive persons. Who was Blank? Reporting the unresponsive persons at 1122. This is an odd statement. Roommates and something else. What is this something else? This is like another descriptive word for whatever relationship this person had with this person. And it can't be Ethan because they already showed his name and they wouldn't have it redacted. These redactions are bullshit. That's the problem. Like, what is this? Who was Blank reporting the unresponsive persons at 1122 King Street on November 13th, 2022? I don't know what the hell it's trying to tell me. Blank said he spent a great deal of time at the apartments at 1122 King Street. Blank said he, Blank, and Blank's girlfriend, Blank, are close friends with victims Xana and Ethan. Blank said there are many members of the U of I Greek community who spent time in the 1122 King Street apartment eating and partying. Blank said the apartment was frequented by Blank and Blank. Blank was a member of the Blank, but he had dropped during the first week of this year. Blank was still active in the Greek groups, including Blank. Blank lived at Blank in Moscow. Blank shit. God, I hate this. Blank were Blank, Blank, and Blank said Blank had gone to Mexico following the murders and was now in Boise. Well, that'd be Emily and Hunter Johnson. That would be Emily and Hunter Johnson. Blank and Blank were still residing at the apartment in Moscow. On November 12, 2022, Blank said he was staying in Blank with his father so he could purchase a new phone. Blank went back to Moscow on November 13th, driven by his father. He arrived back at his apartment at 0800 hours. The early drive to Moscow was not unusual for his father due to his work schedule. Blank and his father bought groceries and Blank was dropped off. Blank spent the morning catching up with Blank, boyfriend Blank, and Blank. Okay. The group was saying goodbye to Blank, who was leaving at 1100 hours to transfer to Boise for graduate school. Blank said he was hanging out on the couch when Blank said he was going to check on Blank and Blank at their apartment, which is 1122 King Street. Blank said Blank girlfriend Blank went with him to the 1122 King Street apartment. So is this Josie's boyfriend? Is this Josie's boyfriend? Or no, maybe not. You know, because he said he was there. Blank said Hunter's girlfriend, Emily, went with him to the 1122 King Street apartments. That's how that would work, right? So the day before, this person had to get a new phone, so they were staying with their dad. He was in Hunter's apartment, is what it sounds like. Blank said he was hanging out on the couch when Hunter said he was going to check on this. Okay, so I'm going to assume this says Dylan and Bethany at their apartment. This person said that Hunter's girlfriend, Emily, went with him to the 1122 King Street apartment. That's who this is. I think this is what this is. Blank lived Blank. Did not know why Blank was going to check on Blank. This would be Dylan and Bethany. And was not told who asked Blank to go to their apartment. Shortly after Blank left, the police activity in the area began. Wow, this is so wild. The fact that they make it so difficult to put something so simple together is disgusting. Like, there's literally no reason for this. These are grown-ass adults. There is not a single child in any of this. And they can't even put, like, initials or put, like, first name, last name, first initial. They can't make it even a little bit okay to read. Like, why are they even bothering? This doesn't even, this can't tell us shit. So freaking stupid. Whoever this was is somebody that we didn't know existed, apparently. Because I don't think that this is Josie's boyfriend anymore. It could have been. Blank was roommates with Blank and Blank with Blank. Do we know anything about Josie's boyfriend going off to the Navy? Because this might not be her boyfriend. That might just be somebody who, for some reason, was over there that morning hanging out with Hunter at his apartment. It's hard to tell with the way they have things worded. But anyway, regardless of who this actually is, what it sounds like is that they were over at Hunter and Emily's apartment whenever Emily's phone rang, and Hunter went over there and Emily went with Hunter, and they were going over there to check on Dylan and Bethany. You can tell it's Dylan and Bethany by the way that the blocks are. Okay, Blank last saw Kernodle approximately 3 days prior to November 13th, 2022 at Blank's apartment, confirming he left for Blank on Wednesday prior to the murders. Blank saw Chapin the same day as Kernodle and also played internet video games Apex Legends with Chapin and Blank on November 12th, 2022 at approximately 18:30 hours before everyone went out. So whoever this was left on Wednesday before Kaylee would have even gotten back into town and showed back up that very morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. It says he arrived back to his apartment. So is this a roommate of Hunter's? And he was going to be leaving. See, this is another thing that's really freaking wild to me is that, okay, this is Hunter. You're right. This is Hunter because we found out was it the book series or was it the Amazon series? I mean, not the book series. Was it in the book or was it in the Amazon series? I think it was the Amazon series. We learned for the first time that apparently this exact same day, like the party, the 12th situation where they were all next door at the Whites, he announced to everyone, Hunter Johnson did, that he was leaving, that he was switching schools. So this whole thing about transferring to Boise for graduate school, this part is Hunter. But that's not who they're talking to. See, this person right here that they're speaking to is somebody that was at Hunter's apartment or was roommates with Hunter at Hunter's apartment. This person is going to the Navy. Hunter was the one moving away from U of I. So they're talking about Hunter, and it sounds like Hunter had a roommate that was also in their apartment, but wasn't there overnight. Because the story about what happened in Hunter's apartment overnight was that Emily was asleep whenever he was still awake, and Ethan was trying to get him to go to the party, and he told him no, that he didn't want to leave with Emily asleep, that he would see what he was doing or where he was whenever Emily woke up. There was another text communication like a couple hours later, I think there was, from according to like the book and stuff like that. And then it says something about how like at 3 o'clock in the morning or around 3 o'clock in the morning, Josie realized that she left her phone outside in her car or in a car outside. So she goes outside to get the phone. She describes the air as being like kind of foggy and that it was like eerily quiet outside. I guess compared to what people think it should be, it was quiet. And then she comes in. She comes in and Hunter locks the door. And that's whenever Emily is like, we never locked the door, but for some reason, whenever she came back in that morning from getting her phone, like he felt the need to lock the door. That's where we got that from. So this would mean that morning, it would have been this guy, Josie, Emily, Hunter, and I'm going to assume that Josie's boyfriend was there too. Because there's a guy, and in the book, it mentions that her boyfriend is with her. And we see someone standing next to her when the cop shows up. He's the one in pants and a dark blue hoodie. But from everything that this says, it doesn't sound like this guy went with them. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about this person going with them. And then I feel like this says shortly after Hunter left, the police activity in the area began. So this person was gone from Wednesday until like 8 o'clock in the morning on the 13th is how it sounds. Okay. And he was friends with Ethan. All right. Blank considers himself an acquaintance of Maddie Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves and did not know them very well. Blank does not think he is on social media with any of the victims, but would be in pictures of a trip to Priest Lake with Chapin. Blank said Blank was in the 1122 King Street apartment in the early part of the week of the 7th of November. Blank has been in several of the rooms within the apartment. Blank texted Chapin after he learned of reports of an incident at 1122 King Street, but did not have any communication with any of the victims in the 48 hours leading up to the homicides. Blank could not speak to any knowledge of the victims feeling unsafe. Blank said there are fistfights in his apartment complex and in the parking lot. Blank has witnessed 2 of the fights. Blank was involved in one in which an unknown male walked into his apartment and punched him in the face. What? So an unknown guy, somebody he didn't even know, walked straight into his apartment and just popped him in the face. Such a safe neighborhood. Holy shit. Other people with the male broke up the fight. Blank said the fight was in September. Blank has never seen the unknown male or his friends in the area again. That's insane. Holy shit. Blank said he kept the door to his apartment locked due to the amount of drunk people around the area. Blank said he knew most of the people that live in the area of 1122 King Street and cannot think of anyone who would commit the murders. Blank knew the backsliding door of 1122 King Street is always left unlocked, and many people were aware of that. Yeah, if he just considers, just half the house an acquaintance and really only knows Ethan, and Ethan doesn't even technically live there, and he knows that about the door. I'm sure lots of people know that. Blank is friends with Blank and Blank, the surviving roommates at 1122 King Street, and usually hung out with them in groups of friends. So he personally knew Dylan and Bethany way better than he knew Maddie and Kaylee. Okay. Blank volunteered DNA samples, and I secured the swabs. The audio of the interview was saved to a disk. The disk and the swabs were packaged and signed over to ISP. Wow. Okay. Wow. Those redactions are like horrible, like actually horrible. It's insane what they do. And then like justify it. It makes no sense. Okay. So we just jumped all the way to December 27th. Holy shit, where were we? We were on December 7th. And now it's jumping all the way for 20 days. That's crazy. Okay. We have the same Detective Leslie. They received a phone call from Officer Jeremy Lonian with the Rochester Police Department in Minnesota. Officer Lonian passed along information and writing received from Blank with a year of birth of 1946. Blank, a resident of Blank, sent a lengthy written rant to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, which was intercepted by Officer Lonian. The officer was concerned about the rant and this person's proximity to Moscow. Okay. So this is a 76-year-old white male. I'm sorry, but if we're not going to buy that an autistic guy with a medical diagnosis for having mobility and dexterity issues couldn't have pulled this off alone, I highly doubt we're going to believe a 76-year-old man could have possibly done this. Holy shiitakes. Okay. Let's see what this has to say. Officer Lonian emailed a copy of Blank writing from November 2022. I cannot stop yawning. Holy crap. The body of the text was mostly incoherent. Officer Lonian said the totality of the writing was over 100 pages and seemed to be written as dated entries like a diary. I was able to contact Blank by phone on January 5th, 2022. I'm sure that you mean January 5th, 2023. I'm sure that's what you actually mean. The phone interview was audio recorded. Blank knew I was calling regarding the documents he sent to the Rochester Mayo Clinic. Blank confirmed he sends documents to many government entities, attorneys, and law enforcement agencies. Blank seemed to have concerns or delusions regarding electronic devices. Blank was unable to maintain the conversation, and his speech was clear and understandable. Blank said he delivered documents to the ISP Coeur d'Alene office in October of 2022. No further action was taken regarding Blank. The recording of the phone interview was blank, and the emails attached to exchange with Officer Lonian have been saved to a disk. There's a guy, this is reminding me, there's a guy in the Pullman documents. He has sent them massive amounts of like, if this guy wasn't actually certifiably insane, he would be a great asset to like any government entity. The way that he writes things in such extreme detail and puts so much information in it, but you know he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs by reading it. But it's like long and it's detailed and it's insane, but it's impressive at the same time. Like, it's massive. I don't know how many of y'all have seen it, but it's wild. There's some stuff in there. We're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to show it because it's wild. Okay, now we're on supplement number 11. Same person, Detective Leslie, responded to the Moscow Police Department to assist in the investigation. This supplement is a running report of several contacts I made while conducting this investigation, including the blank, and several citizens contacted during the canvass of Appaloosa Road, Conestoga Street, Colt Road, Cayuse Drive, and Pinto Drive in Moscow, Idaho. Yeah, we've heard those names quite a few times. Now, these people right here are just going to be people that like might have cameras. I called the blank and spoke with the blank, who agreed to put a request out to the businesses in Moscow, requesting video surveillance of the evening of November 12th into the morning of November 13th. The request was made via a newsletter. On November 19th, 2022, I spoke via telephone with the blank. Last letter R out of all of that. Okay. Blank said she had already spoken to Moscow police regarding the homicide. I could not stop yawning. That's wild. Let me fix how I'm sitting, because I'm yawning for a reason. It's got to be how I'm sitting. I must not be getting like enough oxygen or something, because that's like every 30 seconds, and that's driving me wild. Okay. Blank said she'd already spoken to Moscow police regarding the homicide and said her center did not have a record of any of the homicide victims visiting her staff. Blank agreed to check with both her staff and the blank regarding reports of stalkers that may have been reported. But where is this at? What do you mean they didn't visit any of their staff? Where is this? What is this? On November 19th, 2022, Trooper Kristen Noah and I canvassed the residential area of Conestoga Street, Colt Road, Cayuse Drive, Pinto Drive, and Appaloosa Road. Homeowners who had cameras facing the roadway were met with and confirmed they had reviewed footage from November 12th and 13th, 2022, and could not locate any vehicles due to the cameras not activating. I left blank Appaloosa Road a business card, as I could see his camera system from the front walkway of the house. Blank forwarded me an email confirming his review of footage and said there was no vehicles located during this time frame requested. During my canvass, I met blank Conestoga Street. Blank was in his driveway on November 13th, 2022 between 4 and 5 a.m. working on a vehicle. In the dark? I mean, it's starting to get light then. Let me see if I can find what I pulled up earlier. Because I found like the clock thingy. Okay. So no, broski. You working on a car out in the dark? See, this tells me that it got dark like right before 5 p.m. November 2022. This is how I was able to like make sure that the pictures that we were looking at in the dark matched like a timestamp. I wasn't expecting for it to like get dark so early there, but we have like the ISP report that shows that it is after like the dark time that this would have started. So that's why I wanted to check this. But the sun wouldn't even have started to come up until 6:15. So you're out here in the freaking dark at 4 and 5 in the morning working on a vehicle. Like, I know there's lights, okay? I know there's shop lights and shit. But you're up in the dark working on a vehicle. I don't care about your lights. That's usually not whenever you want to do something mechanical. I'm just saying. Blank recalled seeing a dark, larger SUV southbound on Conestoga Street at approximately 4 o'clock. We do have that one that I'm still really confuzzled about the timing on. Blank recalled Blank called me on December 16th, 2022 and left a message reiterating witnessing the SUV. Why? This randomly called you again? I mean, it looks like you probably would have been the one to initiate that, but that's interesting. Emails exchanged with Blank and the message left by Blank were placed on disk and given to the Moscow Police Department to be attached to the case file. This report and all additional supplements now finalized completes any investigation I conducted as of February 10th, 2023 regarding this case. What? Okay. So this was approved on 2/28/23, meaning that he didn't write it. He didn't write this information out until February, because it ends with February 10th, 2023 and was approved on 2/28/2023. So he waited all those months to write this report for what? How dumb. He, she, whoever, because guys can be named Leslie too. I don't know if this is a man or a woman. That's ignorant. Okay. 101. We have Joseph Lake. During the period. Oh, this is part of the victimology stuff. Okay. During the period of November 16th, 2022 through January 7th, 2023, Idaho State Police Detective Joe Lake performed telephonic triage interviews of people associated to the victims and survivors of the November 13th, 2022 quadruple murder in Moscow, Latell County, Idaho. These triage interviews were to determine if an in-person interview would be required. The full interviews conducted were documents and ISP reports and Federal Bureau of Investigation reports. See reports for full details. Well, I would love to. Show me some Fed reports, please, Mr. Lake. I would love you forever, but we're never going to get those. We're never going to get those. From November 16th, 2022 through January 7th, 2023, this is the exact same thing. Okay, the first one. On December 7th, 2022, I telephoned Blank, claimed she knows victim Ethan Chapin and others, and was present at the party with her best friend Blank. She believed Ethan wasn't acting like himself and keeping to himself. Blank, she later stated she may have mistaken the identity of the person she believed was Ethan. She provided via email a vague video from the party. No evidentiary value was obtained in the video. The provided video is added to evidence of this report, So they must have really not known Ethan if she mistaken someone else for him. So what are you doing? Why are you bothering? Girl, on December 14th, 2022, I telephonically interviewed Blank. I'm going to assume this should be like interviewed Blank, and then Blank explained. Blank explained she has known Kaylee from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Although Blank was a couple years ahead of Kaylee in school, they were friends. Blank sorority Blank, Kaylee's Blank within the sorority. How am I supposed to read that sentence? Blank sorority Blank, Kaylee's Blank within the sorority. Kaylee had two sorority Blank and Blank has worked for Blank for the last couple of years. And at the beginning of the 2022 school year, Blank helped Kaylee obtain an internship with Blank. Blank is a small company, and during Kaylee's internship, she worked within several elements of the company, sales, marketing, etc. Her boss was Blank, who is based out of Canada. Kaylee was in the pipeline for a full-time position, but the official offer had not yet been presented. It was known to Blank that Kaylee would be moving to Austin, Texas, and working for the company based out of Texas. Blank had not had regular or routine contact with Kaylee, but they did periodically talk over the past couple of years. Blank is unaware of any issues related to Kaylee or the murders. So why are we talking to this person if they have no information? Okay. On December 15th, 2022, I spoke with Blank. Blank facilitated victim Kaylee Goncalves' knowledge about salary negotiations, but did not directly negotiate her salary with Blank. Blank believed Kaylee was in a full-time paid intern program at Blank and being paid $20 to $27 per hour. She leaned towards the $27 per hour. Oh, okay. During mid-December 2022, I telephoned blank. Blank had graduated college and currently lives in Tacoma, Washington. She was a close friend to Maddie, Xana, and Kaylee. Blank's boyfriend is blank from blank. Blank is a close friend to blank. She believes blank is a violent person and provided her version of an incident at a Halloween party when blank was making rude comments about other people and blank's close friend corrected him. Blank boyfriend blank stepped in and was struck by blank. Blank then grabbed blank by the hair and threw her to the ground. They later reconciled their differences. It was rumored that blank and blank had hooked up in a schmexual relationship. She feels blank objectifies women and is a violent person. Who? See FBI interview report. Wow. Who is this? And is this basically saying that the same guy and girl that are in this incident where like hair was grabbed and a girl was thrown to the ground, that same guy and that same girl ended up hooking up later? Okay. On December 16th, 2022, I received a tip from Latell County Sheriff, is it Richie Skiles. I telephoned Sheriff Skiles and discussed the tip and the source. The tip stated blank, a former blank department blank, could be responsible for the quadruple murder. A cop. I conducted follow-up and Moscow Police Department and with the Moscow Police Department and obtained telephone information from the MPD blank, who had maintained communications with blank. Blank had moved to blank prior to the murders, and telephone communications confirmed blank travels and locations. Blank is not a person of interest for this investigation. Who is this for? I would love to know what cop this is about. I would love to know. On December 21st, 2022, I telephoned blank. Blank is a blank and friends with victims Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle. Blank knew victim Kaylee Goncalves as a previous neighbor, but were never close. She did not have contact or a relationship with victim Maddie Mogen or the surviving victims, Dylan or Bethany. Blank called Ethan always being the funny guy in the room, and Xana knew and was liked by everyone. Blank had attended the blank party with blank and ran into both Ethan and Xana. They were both in good spirits. Blank believed Ethan's best friends were blank LNU. What is LNU? And is another fraternity thing? Blank and blank believes Xana's best friends were blank LNU. What does LNU mean? Blank had never been to 1122 King Road and doesn't know anyone who would want to hurt the victims. I don't know what LNU is for. I have no idea. On December 29th, 2022, I contacted blank. Blank stated she has 2 children who attended Washington State University and were at the house 1122 King Road the night prior to the murders. Blank would not put me in touch. Is this Kim? Is this Kim? This right here. Short ass name. WSU. Would not put me in touch with her children. Sounds like Kim. I'm just saying. Out of her own face, she said, I wouldn't let my kids talk to the cops. I told them no. You don't need to talk to my kids. I bet you this is Kim. The primary communications with blank were collected via text messages, which were downloaded and entered into evidence data of this report. I bet. I want to see them. An informal in-person interview of blank. Ooh, I see an H. Whose last name could this be? That starts with an H. The blank to first person on scene of the murders. The blank to the first person on scene of the murders. Who's you? That would have been Hunter. Hunter was the first person on scene because he got there before Emily did. But cop-wise, it was Nunez. The blank to the first person on scene of the murders. Interesting. Blank was conducted at Moscow Police Department. I'm not going to stop yawning. It's just not going to stop. In late December 2022, Blank expressed concern for repeated media inquiries and online threats. Blank was provided contact information for threats. Interesting. I had received other tips and triaged those tips without any connection to the murders or investigation. Those tips were closed without further action. Well, I mean, this video chick up here didn't have nothing either. I'm just saying. Okay. This is 102. Timothy Snell. And we are going into January now. January 10th, 2023 at approximately 10:40 hours, ISP Detective Timothy Snell and ISP Detective Leslie conducted an interview with Blank, year of birth 1996. Blank provided information regarding her interactions with fellow classmate Bryan Kohberger. Okay, we're jumping all the way to this. Okay. And then there's his information. This is a 26-year-old white female, Pullman, Washington. Then we have a 22-year-old white female, 2014 Honda CRV. Why did they look at her car? I guess it says released to owner. Okay, anyway. Okay. Okay. The interview was recorded. Finally. And Blank consented to the recording of the interview. Blank provided a number of Blank and said she drives a white Blank. Is that this? Is that this right here? Like, why'd you block it out but not block it out there? Okay. Blank stated she first met Kohberger on campus at a meet and greet for the PhD program cohort. Blank would later clarify that the event date was August 17th, 2022. Blank explained she and Blank, who both came from Blank together, attended the event together. So they must have come from like the same school, I'm guessing. Blank provided a phone number of Blank for Blank. So that's for the other person. After the event, Blank said she and Blank talked about Kohberger and did not really like him based off of their interactions with him. Blank says she tried to give Kohberger the benefit of the doubt as he appeared to be trying to overly impress both of them. Blank said she invited the whole cohort to her apartment during the second or third week of school. Blank said it was the University of Iowa versus Iowa State game. Kohberger attended the event, but was about 2.5 hours late. About a week after the event, Kohberger began to tell others Blank takes Blank for Blank. Blank suspected Kohberger may have looked in her bathroom cabinet and observed her prescriptions because she does not openly share with others about her Blank. Well, if that's true, then he should mind his own freaking business. If somebody takes for something is nobody's goddamn concern. That's rude if that's true. Blank said after her interactions with Kohberger, she began to distance herself from him and heard complaints from the other female graduate students about how Kohberger would make them uncomfortable. Blank said as the semester progressed, there were numerous interactions with Kohberger, staring at students weirdly during class and spatially trapping fellow students in the student offices. That was only like one person. This was all that was one person's account. Because the person that came out with the account didn't feel threatened or uncomfortable by him. She just noticed that he didn't really want to end the conversation, and so he like kept on talking to her and kept following her like somebody who didn't get a clue, someone who didn't get the social clue. I'm going to have to go back and read the first one, but it sounded like the first one was somebody retelling the story of the girl's story that didn't actually feel uncomfortable. Like they were telling it how they wanted to tell it. Because it's all the same, like being in the office, the not stopping the conversation, and then the following to the car. It's all the exact same thing. So again, I could be wrong. It could be two separate instances, but it sounds like the first report we read makes it sound like this completely out of hand situation. But then we get to the person who it actually happened to, and she like constantly was having conversations with him, and she just remembered this one time to where she wanted to stop the conversation, but he wasn't taking the clue, and he just like continued on with the same topic as he kind of followed her to the car. But she herself, again, in that statement said it didn't make her feel uncomfortable. So it's hard to tell, especially with these redactions, what's what. I'm going to be going back and doing the indexing with these the same way. That's how I remember those. So this whole thing right here, if I am right, then this happened just like the way that all this other stuff is going on. Game of telephone. The second that somebody goes to tell somebody else, they add their own thing to it. And then that person then goes and tells the story to another person. And then they add their own twist to it. That's how all of these things end up always going. So that original report where she's like, yeah, I wasn't uncomfortable. He just didn't get the clue that I wanted to stop the conversation and it was time for me to leave type thing. So that's why, like, I need to make sure with those, because we need the truth of it. If he is doing creepy stuff, that ain't cute to be sitting there and telling people's business and, you know, acting like you're better than them for no reason. You get a little bit of leeway for arrogance when it comes to autism, a certain amount, because there's a lot of that they can't help. But that's why the truth at the moment is what's the most important, not the way that it's twisted afterwards, and especially not the way that it's twisted after this kind of thing happens and breaks the internet. You know what I mean? It's always like that original story that's the only one that actually matters, not how it changes depending on the vibe of the room. So this spatially trapping thing is just interesting because I feel like that would have been more grounds for, like, I'm filing harassment charges. You're physically stopping me from getting out of my office. You're in my face. I'm going to karate chop you in the Adam's apple, and then I'm going to call the cops. And none of those things happened. Nothing even remotely close to that happened. So that's why you have to be careful with this kind of stuff. It's true all the way around. Okay, Blank stated, when she was not around, Kohberger would spatially trap Blank in their offices for long periods of time. Blank provided a phone number of Blank and Blank, so this is more than one person. This is an interesting way to put this. Spatially trap. I guess I'd have to, like, see these interactions. Because did he do the same thing with guys when he was talking to them too? Was it just like he didn't get the clue? Okay, yeah, we're winding down the conversation and now it's time to move on with our day. Because I'm sure that it was the same. Because he graded people the same way, boy or girl, it didn't matter. If you were crap, he told you. If you weren't crap, he told you. It's just interesting. Okay. Blank stated there was a spiff during class between Blank and Kohberger in which Kohberger was mansplaining. See, there's that word. Okay. That's the problem I have. I don't know if it's because this is who I, like, originally associated him with, which is like that Sheldon Cooper character from The Big Bang Theory. The more that we learned about Kohberger, the more that I kind of, like, felt that he was like that. A perfectionist, always looking to study, always looking to find an answer, had to be extremely technical about everything. And again, I know that Sheldon Cooper is just a character, but it's based off of the way that people with those kinds of tisms actually do behave in the way that they really are. So whenever they say, and he was just mansplaining, was he? Or is he an Asperger person? That's not a word. Is he a person with Asperger's who is just extremely technical and it feels to you like he's mansplaining because for some reason you've got to label everything as something that it's usually not? It's hard to tell in these situations because a lot of these, oh God, okay. A lot of that generation is just a bunch of idiots. Everybody's a Karen. Everyone's mansplaining. Everything is about feminism, and everything has to be about something more intense than what it actually is. The pandemic didn't help that either because they were transitioning into adulthood during the pandemic, and they were hella coddled. Hella coddled. So is this mansplaining, or is this an autistic person explaining it the way that his brain is explaining it? And because of the way that his brain works and how technical it is, you just feel like it's mansplaining. And maybe because he's so straightforward with it, it's taken that way because of his autism. So it's hard to tell. Because mansplaining to me is something that's done out of arrogance and sarcasm because somebody really thinks that you're a damn fool. Some guy really feels like you're a dumbass little girl. So he really feels like he's got to talk down to you. See, that's what mansplaining actually is. Not explaining something technically because you don't know any other way to do so. Yeah. So, I mean, I disagree with what he's about to say because apparently, as everything continued, it was reported that Kohberger said that mansplaining didn't exist. It does exist. It exists, but it's used as a belittling situation. Somebody that's mansplaining something to you isn't doing so as a joke or as like some sort of sarcastic thing. They really feel like you're stupid. But can you actually say that that's what this is, or was he just standing up and telling you the way that Sheldon Cooper would? Because he's technical and autistic, and that's just how his brain works. See, a lot of people that have autism are considered these weird people to people that are considered normal. And they always get read the wrong way. It's been like that since the beginning of time. So it's hard to read. It's hard to tell. It's not cute to like want to purposely make somebody cry, but if someone is being embarrassed in front of a classroom, it might not be the actual mansplaining. It might be the situation at hand that got too emotional for the person. The scenario itself. There's a lot of different things you have to look at whenever it comes to all of this stuff. During follow-up questioning, Blank provided the general context of the disagreement and reported that Kohberger said mansplaining did not exist, but it actually does. Blank said her closest friends were blank. Okay. When Detective Lehman asked Blank if Kohberger had any friends, she was unaware of anyone. Blank stated Kohberger would have been the closest with his office mates, Blank, who were international students. He did have a guy that he took walks with, like almost every day, every other day around the apartment complex. And then there was that girl that he hung out with. And then there was a report that they said some guy with a bunch of tattoos and a black bike, whoever the frick that was hanging out with Kohberger on his steps one day. That's about as far as we've heard. Nobody else has really come forward and said anything. Blank stated she assumed Kohberger was helping Blank learn English and prepare for the test of English as a foreign language test. During questioning about Kohberger's overall performance in school, Blank stated she did not think Kohberger was doing very well, as they could get a general idea of everyone's grades through a process of elimination. Huh? Process of elimination of what? Can you see people's paperwork? Can you see their grades? How can you do that? Blank said she heard rumors. Kohberger stated Blank was inadequate to grade his papers because she was too foreign. She heard rumors that he said that. Blank further stated while she did not know his specific grades, Blank said she did know Kohberger was not doing well as a TA because Blank complained about not getting enough help from both Kohberger and Blank. Said about halfway through the semester, Blank put out a request for graders, which both she and Blank applied for and began performing. Well, not doing well as a teaching assistant and not doing well as a student are two completely different things. So you really, it's literally apples to oranges with that one. But it is interesting if they did ask for like another grader, because they didn't like how he graded people who he didn't like the way they did their work. Like they wanted him to be less harsh on them. Blank said from her limited experience at the college, she thought it was rather unusual for a professor to request additional graders halfway through the semester. But who's this other person that's also not getting enough, like not giving enough help? Because this says that Blank complained about not getting enough help from both Kohberger and Blank. And then there's probably like a period, and then another Blank said about halfway through. So Kohberger and who? This means that more than one person was slipping, and y'all are only putting the main blame on him, but apparently there was somebody else that wasn't doing their part either. I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like. When asked about Kohberger's demeanor after November 13th, 2022, Blank said Kohberger's demeanor did change. However, she attributed it to being called out for not being a good TA. Blank recalled Kohberger smiling at her more and being more respectful towards her. So he gets told that he's being too much of an asshole. He gets told that he's grading too harshly and that a bunch of these chicks have issues with it. And he tries to like be nicer. And it's a problem? Okay. Blank said she thought this was occurring because Kohberger was not part of the type cohort group. When asked, Blank said she fully anticipated Kohberger returning to school after the end of the semester. So because he was trying to be nicer, from how it sounds, smiling at her, being nicer, trying to do what his freaking professor told him to do, instead of being an a-hole grader, they're making this a bad thing? During additional follow-up questioning of Blank, she said Kohberger always wore a puffy coat to class, both prior to and after the homicide. Okay, so his attire didn't change. Blank told us there was a tally board in her office documenting how often Kohberger was late for class, and she and the fellow students were tracking his tardiness, comparing it to female versus male professors. Oh, this is one of the chicks that was stalking him. This is one of the chicks that was stalking him. Now, again, we've heard this, right? Like we've heard this before. Where's the picture? Where is the picture of this SOSE tally board? Because you're not going to sit here and tell me that after all of this bullshit that came out, that somebody didn't snap a pic of that whiteboard and all them dry erase marker marks all over it. No one took a picture? Where's it at? And why were y'all stalking him? Why were y'all worried? Why did y'all know his class schedule to a T so well that you can go and exactly see? What were you doing? Because if you're like sneaking around trying to see if somebody else is late to class, does that also not indeed then make you late to your class? Like what? How are y'all getting away with admitting that y'all were stalking this man? Oh, he was being nicer to me and smiling at me more, and we were stalking him so that we could report him for tardiness and call him a sexist. He was smiling at me more and being so much more respectful, but we were still trying to mark him as a sexist as fast as we could. That's all I'm hearing. Wild shit. Okay. Oh, there is photographs. I spoke too soon. Where are they? Because now it says photographs of the tally board were provided. Where are they? Are they in here? Am I running my mouth for no reason? Oh, look, they're not here. They're not attached. Where are they? Please show us the stalking proof. I want to see it so bad. Steve apparently seen it, right? Because he knows all about it. Steve can show us. Where is it at? I want to see it so bad. Blank provides examples of Kohberger arriving late to class and her negative perception of Kohberger being late to graduate level courses. Blank said Kohberger never missed a class except for once, which she believed might have been the Thursday after the homicide, which was their methods class. He had appointments on the 17th, I think it was. The 17th, I think, was the day that he had a doctor's appointment. And then that's, I think, the same day he got the haircut thing done. I think was the 17th. Don't hold me to that date, but I think it was the 17th. And see, this isn't the day after. This isn't him missing Monday. This is him being gone later on in the week. No one ever said, at least nothing that I've ever read actually that was proven, that he didn't go to school that Monday. Like, he was there. He was there. Okay. Blank said Kohberger attended the Tuesday and Wednesday classes prior to being gone for Thursday class. Blank admittedly said she and her fellow classmates talked a lot of shit about Kohberger via a group text message thread. When asked, Blank said she had never been to Kohberger's apartment. Blank said she lives at Blank in Pullman, Washington. Blank provided additional examples regarding Kohberger blocking fellow students in the offices. Blank showed us an email from Blank that said, "Help me, this convo is weird," dated October 28th, 2022. What was it about? What was it about? Blank said Kohberger would stand in doorways and not leave when it was clear, based on the social clues, the person in the office was packing up and wanting to leave. Blank said she was aware of a formal complaint to HR by Blank for statements Kohberger made to her after Blank had stepped away. Made to her after Blank had stepped away? As a result of the complaint, a meeting took place regarding discrimination and harassment as a department. Blank thought the meeting occurred sometime in October or November and could not retrieve the exact date. Blank said something blank is hard for hearing and has 2 interpreters. However, the interpreters are only present in the classroom setting. What does that have to do with anything? Who is hard of hearing with 2 interpreters? So you're meaning that somebody that's involved in these complaints that apparently heard something might have not actually heard the thing because they're hard of hearing? That's what it sounds like. So that means you might have not even heard it correctly because you're hard of hearing and you have interpreters. That's a little confusing. Okay, yeah. I mean, I get if someone's packing up and doing whatever, but unless they're getting up and walking towards the door, he probably isn't thinking that they're wanting the conversation to end because he could literally just walk with them. And if they're not trying to physically end the conversation with their words, nobody's a mind reader. If you're just packing up your stuff, but you're not leaving your desk, if you're not getting up, if you're not walking towards the door, they're probably just going to stand there and continue talking to you. Because you're not showing that you're trying to move out of the room. And plenty of people can walk and talk. Are you incapable? I don't understand. Having to view these interactions is really what it is. Because if it's all about social clues, social cues and things like that, everyone already said that he had no idea how to do any of that. Everybody has. I asked Blank if Kohberger had a girlfriend or other acquaintances. She was unaware Kohberger consistently interacted with anyone. Blank said Kohberger was only around when classes were happening and rarely saw him when he did not have classes. Blank said Kohberger did not discuss his social plans with her and only knew he was interested in baseball. Okay. Blank said he told Blank he liked to spend time alone in the woods. When asked, Blank said Kohberger told her he had no social media accounts. Blank said she did not notice injuries. No, she did notice injuries on Kohberger's hands in October, so beforehand, and had joked that he must have been punching drywall in anger. Blank reported Kohberger told fellow students he had been boxing when explaining why his hands were injured. See, I actually had wondered that. I had wondered if there was a gym in Pullman that he had started going to because it seemed like the boxing gym that Jesse Harris guy owned was a big part of his losing weight, his trying to stay clean after getting mixed in with the wrong kids at school and all the stuff that was going on. Because according to the book, he's 14, 13 or 14. When Michael Kohberger brings him in to meet with Jesse Harris. And Jesse Harris has come out and done an interview. I think, what magazine was it in? It was in some article. I have it pinned. We haven't gone over it yet, but I have it pinned. But he talks about how this was not a strength training. This wasn't for performance fighting or anything like that. It was literally for self-esteem building, for dexterity, for just balancing, therapy. So that's what I was wondering. I was wondering if he had rejoined one once he moved. And this sort of kind of validates that. I wonder where it was. I'm sure they would have had this information. But these are, again, injuries from prior, not from after. So I think this is the second time that is this the same person though? Because we've read something similar like this before where they had noticed that he had injuries prior. But the other report didn't say anything about boxing. That's a new thing, as far as I can remember. Blank said during 2 extensive student presentations on sexual victimization in college campuses and stalking, Kohberger sat through them and did not interject himself into the conversation. Regarding the death penalty, Blank reported Kohberger previously appeared to be in support of the death penalty and made statements that the victim's family should have a say as to whether or not the death penalty is imposed. I mean, Yeah. They should have a say in how they feel. Him being pro death penalty doesn't surprise me. Honestly, if that's true. It really doesn't. I know that like there's a thing when it comes to his mom and the death penalty and like Ted Bundy. Like, I'm not dumb. I don't ignore things. I know it's out there. I know there's like something that she wrote and they're all against the death penalty and shit like that. But if this is the case, this honestly tracks better for me, just based on like a couple other things that we know. Him being in support of the death penalty tracks. Blank stated she did not know any of the victims and was not aware of anyone in her social circle who knew the victims. And then it goes on to talk about where this was put and where the tag is. Okay, so then we have something from Jess Stinnett. And we're going to January 10th, 2023. Idaho State Police Captain Jay Kempf and ISP Sergeant Jay Stinnett conducted an interview with blank and blank at the Moscow Police Department. The interview was in reference to a pool party which occurred at blank pool in Moscow, Idaho on July 9th, 2022. So we already heard from Holly. There was another report in here from her. This looks to be different people. Okay. Blank and blank both worked at the blank and lived in Moscow, Idaho. The day of the party, blank was working and looked out at the pool and saw approximately 200 people. She called her friend blank and later went out to the pool. Blank and blank were approached by Kohberger at the pool party. She was uncomfortable with how Kohberger was talking to her and her friend. She told Kohberger she was married and tried to end the conversation, but he continued to talk to them. At one point, blank came over and intervened. Blank placed himself between Kohberger and blank, but Kohberger continued to be fixated on the girls. The interaction ended shortly after, with blank and Kohberger exchanging phone numbers. So uncomfortable. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I want to know what it was prior to his face being on the news, not afterwards. I don't want to hear stories about how, oh my God, we felt so uncomfortable and somebody else had to come intervene. Oh, but then, he got her number. I don't comprehend. They were not aware if any of the victims attended the pool party. At approximately 9:37 a.m., the interview ended. Just too much. Y'all doing too much. Too much. Okay, so here we have a cigarette, but remember, we were told they were surveilling somebody. They had a lead before they had Bryan's name. We knew that from Brett Payne. Well, we knew that before, but he really iterated in January. There was an entirely different lead suspect that they were working on. They were surveilling. They were doing all kinds of stuff for this other person before they got the phone call on the 19th of December. Payne said so himself. I'm going to assume, before we get into the document, this is that person's cigarette butt. Very possibly. Let's see. Will Adams. Location not allowed. 11/21/22. Okay. November 21st, 2022. Oh my God. And in Pullman? What? Detective William G. Adams of the Idaho State Police, along with other ISP detectives, conducted surveillance at blank in Pullman, Washington. I ultimately seized 2 discarded cigarette butts from a male suspected to be blank with a year of birth of 1981 at the steps leading to the entrance of the apartment building. This is a 41-year-old person. What? This is tip number 391 and tip 73. The person identified in the tip was blank with year of birth 1981. His residence was identified as blank in Pullman, Washington. I, along with detectives Herman Henley, Walker, and ISP Sergeant Stinnett, conducted surveillance of the residence. While conducting surveillance, we observed a male who appeared to be blank. The male would come out every few hours to smoke cigarettes on the west-facing steps of the entrance of the building. At approximately 12 hours, I observed Blank put out his cigarette between his feet. Blank then began smoking a second cigarette. When he was done, he again put the cigarette out between his feet. I could see 2 cigarette butts between his feet. Like bare feet? You got shoes on? Are you sitting down? Okay. A few moments later, Blank stood up and went back inside. After he got up, the cigarette butts were not in the location where I saw him leave them. Interesting. Blank was sitting on steps leading to a community entrance door where multiple people use it to enter the building and then go to whichever apartment they were going to. The steps Blank was on faced west. There is another set of steps to the east side leading to the landing where both sets of steps give access to the landing where the door is located. There are paved walkways leading from sidewalks to the entrance of the building. Detective Herman contacted a local officer and asked about obtaining the cigarette butts from the walkway of the building. That officer contacted a local prosecutor who advised us that if the butts were in a common walkway and a walkway leading from a public sidewalk to the entrance, then we could walk up, grab the discarded cigarette butts, and leave without a warrant. At approximately 1600 hours. Oh, are we sure? We positive that it's 1600 hours? Because now I just don't believe you. Anytime you use that freaking time. I exited my vehicle and went to the area where the cigarette butts were seen. Well, at the bottom of the steps where Blank had been seen smoking, I saw 2 cigarette butts in the area where Blank's feet were located. One cigarette butt was to the right of where Blank's right foot had been located, and the other cigarette butt was near the stair behind where Blank's left foot had been located. Okay. Both cigarette butts appeared to be fresh. I also noticed a can near the stairs full of cigarette butts. I did not retrieve any of those cigarette butts, but only collected the 2 cigarette butts that appeared fresh in close proximity to where I had seen Blank drop cigarette butts. After collecting the cigarette butts, I placed them in a paper envelope and transported them to the Moscow Police Department, where they were booked into evidence by Moscow Police Officer J. Rosinski. The cigarette butts were placed into separate evidence envelopes and booked into evidence under Moscow Police Department case number, blah, 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 blah. Wow, okay. No, the guy's too old to be Kopaka. This is a 41-year-old dude. No idea who it is. All right, 105. Detective Timothy Snell. Now we're on January 10th, 2023 at approximately 13:56. Timothy Snell and Leslie interviewed Blank with year birth 1997 regarding her interactions with fellow classmate Bryan Kohberger. 25-year-old white female. Doesn't have any other information for whatever this is right here. Okay. Interview was recorded. Okay. Blank stated she first met Kohberger during orientation as they were both first-year PhD students at the University of Washington. Blank said she attended classes with Kohberger, which she further explained as attending class together twice on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. Wait. Okay, yeah, twice on Tuesday, one on Wednesday, and one on Thursday, so 4 times a week. Blank said the only social event she had previously attended with Kohberger was a barbecue Blank hosted at his residence. Blank said her only day-to-day interaction with Kohberger occurred in the classroom because she worked upstairs in a secure area as part of her internship with the Blank, and Kohberger's office was downstairs. Is this who got the apprenticeship, maybe? This person? Because it says it's secure. That's probably what that is. Richardson provided a brief overview of Oh, so they just gave the name like a bunch of dumbasses. Richardson provided a brief overview of Kohberger's demeanor in the classroom and the need to assert upon fellow students his knowledge. Blank said Kohberger likes to over-explain offender decision-making and was doing his final research paper on burglary. Blank said during introductions, Kohberger said his reason for attending WSU was for the internship with blank in blank, which is the position blank had been chosen for over Kohberger right there. This is the person who got the assistantship at the police department. Blank obtained the position in the spring and conducted onboarding training over the summer. Blank stated she was sick the week following the homicide, then was gone for Thanksgiving break. After returning to class after Thanksgiving, Blank said Kohberger had cuts on his hands. Blank described the cuts on his hands as cat scratches with band-aids over the cuts. Blank did not ask Kohberger about the cuts on his hands because of his general over-engagement in conversation. Blank said the dates she would have seen the cuts were November 29th through the 30th of 2022. Well, now we have to go back to what we've already heard from somebody who really doesn't like him, that said that he had cuts on his hands in October and said that he was going back to the boxing gym, basically, that he was boxing. Plus, no one else has said that he had any injuries whenever he came back, that he wasn't limping, he didn't have any bruises, no red spots, no cuts anywhere where they were noticeable. So there's that part. Blank said they had harassment training on November 8th, 2022, and it was rumored the training was because of Kohberger. However, Blank could not confirm this information. Blank said Kohberger's behavior changed after the meeting, and she assumed his behavior change was in response to what they discussed in training. Well, that was on the 8th. And y'all are complaining that he's like not nice to the girls, and so he starts being nicer and y'all act like it's horrible too. So honestly, it doesn't honestly feel like anybody can win in this situation. It really just kind of doesn't. Blank described Kohberger becoming quieter and not speaking up in class. Blank said on Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, Kohberger arrived late, then left class after 10 minutes to go and get coffee, which Blank described as highly unusual. Again, this is before the crime. Blank described an interaction with Kohberger after leaving one evening when she was with Blank and Kohberger trapped her into conversation with him. Blank stated she was not aware of Kohberger having any social media. Blank said Kohberger showed her pictures of him hiking in the area of Moscow Mountain, and he appeared to be alone. Blank said she had never been to Kohberger's apartment or in his vehicle. Blank stated she did not know the victims and was unaware of anyone who knew them. Where's Moscow Mountain? Where'd that be? Wow. Home dude be traveling. Hold on. Okay, so I put in the King Road address just to like see how far it was from the King Road house. Moscow Mountain is 4.5 hours away from the King Road house. So home dude be driving to go to places. This is far. So it meaning like, and you know, Pullman's like over here. So it's a little bit further. That's some drive. Wow. Home dude be driving. I won't drive that far. Not unless I'm staying overnight somewhere. That's crazy. Okay. On December 4th, 2022, Blank found snow footprints leading to the back window of her apartment. Whoever had left the footprints had backtracked within the tracks. Blank and her fiance installed security cameras in response to finding the footprints. Blank forwarded the photographs of the footprints to Detective Lehman. Blank provided her address of Blank, Pullman, Washington. Ooh, I want to see them. I'd love to see like a comparison, like a size comparison. Like, why not? Near the interview's conclusion, Blank requested we speak with Blank by phone about an incident at the apartment. Blank said he was playing video games when someone jiggled the door handle to the apartment, and after getting up and looking outside, no one was there. Blank said the incident occurred between October 26th and December 9th. You know how long of a range that is? Bro. For full details of the interview, blah, blah, blah. There it is. There's the tag. Y'all are wild. Y'all are wild. Okay. Supplement number 106. Gary Tollison. Him and Detective Sean Prosser interviewed Washington State University undergraduate student with year of birth 2002. So a 20-year-old white female. Whew. On Tuesday, January 10th, they did this interview and it took place at the blank. It doesn't show. The interview was recorded with blank knowledge and permission. Blank's name had been forwarded to investigators by blank. What? Blank's name had been forwarded to investigators by blank. He believed that blank had been asked repeatedly by Bryan Kohberger on a date and that this attention was unwanted and Kohberger had been told to stop. Okay, let's see what they say then. Kohberger was a teaching assistant in blank criminal justice blank class, which Miss Blank was a student. Miss Blank told us that she had only seen Kohberger on one occasion when he was sitting in a criminal justice class blank given by blank, and Kohberger had been introduced as his TA for that class. So this is Professor Snyder's class, probably. Other than that, she'd only corresponded with Kohberger through submitting class papers to him for review and grading via an online WSU system student portal. Blank said that she had never seen Kohberger in the class again and never at a social event. She believed that Blank had mistaken her for another criminal justice student. So this is not somebody who he repeatedly asked out over and over and over again. The person who told the story was mistaken. She did tell us she used to work at the blank in Moscow, Idaho at one time and knew that her coworkers also knew the students that were murdered. She had gone to visit her former coworkers after the murders. So yeah, again, not the right person. The story that this person told and that got this person involved was a lie. Go figure. Go figure. Sean Prosser, 107. Is it? Why did it say 4.5 hours? Oh, I have it on walking. I have it on walking instead of driving. I'll fix it. What the frick was it on walking for? There was something that we were... Oh, the John's Alley stuff from the Corner Club. It's like, what the frick? Okay. Yeah, because look, if you do it walking, it's 8 hours. But if you do it driving, it's... Well, for some reason, it wants you to drive all the way around to Timbuktu and that way. That's dumb as hell. Do you see this stupid way that it wants you to drive? Why in the world would you ever go all the way to Moscow and then go north and then go all the freaking way up here and go back around and then come back down? Why would you do that? 53 minutes. If you go from here, go up this way, and then go straight across. That's insane too, though. There's no roads that go like in between all of this. I would definitely be looking for shortcuts. Y'all wild. Whoever wrote that map needs to be fired. That's wild as hell. Okay. Okay. The interview took place in Pullman. Also present during the interview was Washington State Assistant Attorney General Sean Bowen. That's interesting. I think we've actually heard that somebody like that was in with another one too. I think. Prior to the start of the interview, Blank confirmed she was happy for the interview to be recorded. This recording was subsequently downloaded to a CD. I think somebody else said that too. This might be that same person because it's an employee. Blank is employed by Blank as the Blank. As two positions, I guess, because there's like a comma. During the normal course of her duties, she investigates and provides education, mediation, and other disciplinary-focused responses to complaints, reports made by members of the student body, specifically if those complaints have a discriminatory nexus. Her department facilitates group educational classes when asked by faculty leadership. Bowen advised, or is that's the dude? Okay, I was about to say they slipped up again. Okay, Bowen advised due to legal restrictions placed on staff, Blank was able only to provide some answers to questions in general terms and not with direct specificity. I preferred to one such mandatory education class, which was provided to the criminal justice graduate program following complaints made against Bryan Kohberger. Blank said she did not teach that class as her Blank taught it, and she could not comment on Kohberger's attendance. She stated she had never interacted with Kohberger directly or indirectly, albeit she was in receipt of reports regarding his behavior. She stated per her notes, she was in receipt of 13 reports pertaining to Kohberger, highlighting concerns regarding his behavior. 13 separate reports. I'd love to read them all. Bowen suggested that a subpoena should be provided to WSU in order to release any records held by Blank's department relating to these reports or matters. He further recommended investigators should review WSU's Executive Procedure 15, available online from WSU's website, and a copy of the graduate and student policy and procedures with reference to the student grievance section. Refer to the recording for greater detail. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see all 13 of them. You know, from those stalking girls that were always reporting him tardy to class. Sean Prosser, January 10th, 2023. This is Sean Prosser along with Gary Tullison doing an interview with somebody in connection to her knowledge and interactions with Bryan Kohberger, and it took place somewhere in Pullman. This is a 55-year-old individual. Is this like a teacher? I'm guessing. Okay, the interview took place in Pullman. Prior to the start of the interview, Blank confirmed she was happy for the interview to be recorded. They sure say that like every time. This recording was subsequently downloaded to a CD and provided to the Moscow Police Department evidence section. Blank is employed by Blank in the Blank. She has held this position for approximately 11 and a half years and has worked at Blank in total for 35 years. During the normal course of her duties, she regularly interacted with Kohberger as Blank conducts the Blank for the Blank. Kohberger maintains an office downstairs from Blank. Okay. Blank said he is frequently in her office, especially as her undergraduate assistant. Blank works with her. Blank said Kohberger seems to have a particularly keen interest in Blank. He would simply stand at her desk, including behind her, staring over her shoulders as she worked and stare at her. That's creepy. I don't like that. I don't like anyone standing around me. Again, I'll throat punch you. Get out of my bubble, bro. She noted Professor Blank was asked to escort Blank to her car at the end of the workday as Kohberger's behavior was of concern. Blank commented that his inappropriate behavior was reported to Professor Snyder at the Blank. That's the one he worked with. Blank said, to her recollection, Blank was Kohberger's closest peer and had on occasion inserted himself between Kohberger and Blank as a distraction. Who is this person that they're talking about? And who is this girl? Because we've only heard of like the Norton chick that hated him, that like ran her mouth day and night about everything he did. Then there was the Asian girl that Dateline said liked Bryan, but was rejected by Bryan. And then there was the burglary thing after the rejection, to where instead of calling the police and reporting it, she called him to come over and spend the night in her apartment. Apparently, according to the story, nothing happened, but that's how that went. And Chief Jenkins, whenever he started doing his interviews after everything happened in July, He said there was no report of this burglary. It was never reported to anything. So he had no idea what anyone was talking about whenever he was asked about that, because there was no report of it. So we've got the one that stalked him, the one that wanted to be with him, but he didn't want to be with. And then we have this person. Who is this person that he apparently was doing this stuff with? Where is she? Interesting. Interesting. I want to read these. Like, I want to see them actually. All these like third party game of telephone reports. I can't stand them. Like, we've got to go over them, because this is the information that then gets pulled all together for where the end result ends up. But I hate these third party 20 degrees of separation reports. I want to read the actual reports. That might change some things. I want to read the real reports. So here's Detective Leslie. January 10th again. Them and Captain John Kempf interviewed WSU students with year of birth 2004. Blank was a student in the criminology course in which Bryan was the TA. An 18-year-old female. Okay. Blank confirmed her phone number and stated she resided in Pullman. Blank recalled meeting T.A. Kohberger on the first or second day of class. Blank believed Kohberger mentioned having a background in the military. Blank said Kohberger was quiet and did not engage in class unless asked to do so by Professor Snyder. Okay. Blank exchanged emails with Kohberger regarding a final paper and held a Zoom meeting with Kohberger on December 9th, 2022, with 2 or 3 other students from the class. Blank said Kohberger left his camera off during the Zoom meeting. Blank said students tended to leave cameras off during Zoom meetings, but it was unusual for TAs and professors to leave the camera off during these meetings. Well, who cares? Blank said Kohberger's attitude during the Zoom meeting was chatty and upbeat, stating Kohberger seemed nicer than prior interactions. See, again, like, he gets reprimanded for being a hard ass, for being an asshole, for being too harsh to grade, for all these things. And then he tries to be nicer, and they're like, yeah, but it was weird, because his camera was off. He was chatty and he was nice and all, but oh my God, that camera. That's like all I hear from his. I don't care. That's all I hear from this. Blank confirmed she did not engage with Kohberger outside of the classroom or on social media. Blank considered Kohberger's behavior and demeanor to be formal. Not college student-y, but adultish, basically. Blank later forwarded me the emails she exchanged with Kohberger. The email and the audio of the interview with Blank have been saved to a disk. Yeah, this was like neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Okay. 110. Detective Leslie. Interview with Blank, year of birth 2000. Blank is in the master's degree program in criminal justice at WSU. Blank is in the same cohort as PhD student Bryan Kohberger. Interview was held at Blank campus in a private office. 22-year-old female. Okay. Blank confirmed her residence at Blank in Pullman. Blank drives a 2014 Blank and confirmed her cell number is Blank. Blank mostly interacts in classes shared for 3 hours per day with Kohberger, and explained Kohberger's interactions in her office shared with Blank, Blank, and Blank. Multiple people. Blank said Kohberger seemed to focus his attention towards her office mate, Blank, which made Blank uncomfortable. The office mates tried to keep their office door closed to keep Kohberger out. Who is this person? Like, this is the person I want to hear from. Blank says she tried to remain civil when speaking to Kohberger, but felt he tended to be aggressive and upfront, specifically with female colleagues. Blank said Kohberger engaged in unsolicited debates and arguments regarding topics she felt were not up for debate. So Miss Ma'am gets to decide what's important to other people. That's interesting. Blank explained an incident in class where the topic of eyewitness misidentification was being discussed. Is she about to try to act like this is not up for debate for some reason? Blank was explaining her viewpoints during her background on the topic. Kohberger was agitated and argumentative because he did not agree with her explanation. Classmate Blank defended Blank to Kohberger and tried to stop the debate. Blank told Kohberger his arguing was mansplaining when speaking to Blank. Blank said Kohberger did not understand what mansplaining meant, but disagreed that he was engaging in that fashion. Blank said the exchange made her upset and uncomfortable and left her not wanting to interact any further with Kohberger. So because he didn't like what you had to say. This is like all those idiots out there that don't like me because I read facts and they hate my opinion. To them, I'm Kohberger because they don't like the fact that I'm straightforward and say what I think. And if I disagree with you, I'm going to tell you I disagree with you, and I'm going to tell you why. So to them, I'm Kohberger. And they're the little crying little girl in class. That's how I'm seeing this. So because he had something to say about witness misidentification, which is an extremely important topic, actually, because false witness identification, false witness statements, that kind of shit constantly happens, and innocent people do go to prison for things that they don't do. Happens all the time. So because he didn't like what you had to say in the criminal class about a criminal topic that was being discussed by the entire class, I'm going to take the context from before and say that for some reason you felt like your opinion was just factual and not up for debate. Therefore, he's wrong for not liking what you had to say. Maybe he was just the first one that was going to actually be brave enough to say, hey, your thought process on that is dumb. Let me tell you why. I would love to have more details on this. I would love to have more details on this situation. I'm just saying. Blank would explain she filed a written complaint to the WSU Civil Rights and Compliance Group regarding the mansplaining incident. Blank said her goal was to create documentation of the incident should further issues arise. Let me be a Karen and type up an email about how the boy who disagreed with me in class hurt my feelings because he didn't like my opinion. Like, it's one thing if he's like hovering over somebody and maybe not getting a clue and being a little weird that way. That's a completely different situation than this person having an opinion that they felt that no one should be allowed to touch because they know better. That's all that I feel from this. And I could be wrong, but that's the vibe. That's the vibe. I'm sorry. That's the vibe. I'm not sorry about it. That's the vibe I'm getting from this. Those two things are separate. I want to hear from that person because multiple people were witnessing that. And it is a bit like, if you keep getting close to me, bro, I'm going to have to hit you type deal. But this kind of thing, I see lots of different memes in my head when I think of people like this. That's all I'm saying. And that's how this feels. It feels like she got her butt hurt feelings because somebody had a difference of opinion than she did and opened their mouth about it in a classroom setting in front of people. And for some reason, some girl felt like she had to come to the rescue because that's normally how it goes. That's just how I feel about it. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. Blank said she did not interact with Kohberger outside the campus setting, with exception of a party at Blank apartment he attended for an hour. Blank recalled another department gathering at Paradise Creek Brewery. Blank said Kohberger had a bottle of wine to himself and seemed to focus his attention on the female server. Blank did not share any social media with Kohberger, but said Kohberger often referred to the Razoo Reddit page. Wazoo. I said it wrong. Wazoo Reddit page. I forget that that's probably in existence. I wonder if that's still there. I wonder if there's anything that he ever posted on there that we haven't seen. I haven't even thought to look on there. Blank never had direct text with Kohberger, just the group me chat group for the cohort. Blank recognized a change in behavior by Kohberger by getting up and leaving class more often in the week leading up to Thanksgiving break. Kohberger would get up and get a cup of coffee, which Blank explained was highly inappropriate for Jesus Christ. It is so inappropriate. How dare you be tired and want a cup of coffee? How dare you? What? Kohberger would get up and get a cup of coffee, which Blank explained was highly inappropriate. Why do I feel like Greta Thunberg, or however you say her freaking name, whenever I read that statement? How dare you want coffee? What? Bro, I can't. I can't. What? These are the future generations. Can't even get coffee, bro. It's so inappropriate. How dare you? How dare you read my shitty paper and my lack of give a damn, and you have to deal with the fact that I am under your wing and I'm failing greatly, and my horrible grades make you so tired that you need coffee. How dare you? I love it. This is so stupid. Blank spoke of Kohberger constantly wearing a puffy down coat during classes lasting several hours. Blank never saw Kohberger with anyone she believed was his friend. Blank stated Kohberger never made friends. Kohberger confided in Blank in November that he wished he was in a relationship. Blank said Kohberger expressed interest in female members of the cohort, but nothing materialized. Blank said Kohberger flirted with Blank until he learned that she was married. Okay, so he obviously knows boundaries, because Kohberger liked somebody, and then once he found out that she was a married woman, he apparently stopped. So that's sort of like the opposite of all the rest of the stuff that they've been trying to tell us. Right? Blank said there was a tally board in her office memorializing the number of times Kohberger was late to class, and one to show the number of times Kohberger makes discriminatory comments and behaviors to the cohort members. Blank noticed that following Thanksgiving break, Kohberger was very quiet. Blank felt Kohberger must have realized his behavior was being accounted for, and this was causing his lack of engagement. In the week leading up to Christmas break, the department held a Christmas party. Blank held the party and was in a conversation with Kohberger regarding classes Blank was taking, left Blank with the impression he would be returning for spring semester. Blank said she saw Kohberger with injuries to his left hand while in class. Blank sat to Kohberger's left, 3 feet away from him, and during a class following Thanksgiving break, she had clear vision of his left hand. So after Thanksgiving. And again, they saw him with injuries before the situation. So this again could be attributed to boxing at this point. But nothing about the week of. This is all like after. Either before or a week and a half after. Nothing about like actually the time frame itself. Okay. Blank described the injury as bruised knuckles. The redness was halfway up the back of the left hand from his knuckles, and he had a cut on his ring finger knuckle. Kohberger had told Blank he was a boxer. Blank said Kohberger did not try to hide the injured hand. I mean, if he did it boxing, why would he have to? That tracks to like everything else we've already heard too. Blank has never been in Kohberger's apartment or car. Blank said Kohberger had told the cohorts he wanted to be a university professor. Blank stated with a chuckle he really liked to teach people things. Blank said Kohberger genuinely tried and wanted to be friends with people, but he did not know how. Blank explained Kohberger was argumentative and she was not, furthering the distance between them. This is where it's that autistic line, though. That's where there's like that autistic line. Blank reiterated Kohberger's uninvited visits to her office to include Kohberger sitting at a seat directly next to her desk, leaving her stuck talking to him. Blank said Kohberger did not share information about his personal life. And then it says that the recordings were put somewhere. I mean, social cues are important, and even autistic people can be taught them, but it's on the parents. It's on the parents. But I will also say what I've said before. H at such a young age didn't do his brain any good. Literally at all. I'm surprised he's as smart as he is. Using something so strong at such a young age. Seriously, I've wondered that a lot. Wondered that a lot. About that a lot. Cody Herman. This is number 111. This is, again, Cody Herman. January 9th, 2023. Him and FBI Special Agent Bryant Gunnarsson interviewed blank with the year of birth 1998 on campus in Pullman. 24-year-old male. Lots of acquaintances now. Okay, blank was advised. Interviews were recorded. He agreed to the interview being recorded. Detective Herman and S.A. Gunnarsson introduced themselves and gathered blank's name, date of birth, phone number. Blank was advised the interview was regarding any interactions he may have had with Bryan C. Kohberger. Blank advised he was a blank student in the PhD program for sociology. Blank would occasionally attend criminal justice classes. Blank first met Kohberger at the beginning of the fall 2022 semester, sometime around August 15th, 2022, in a criminology class. Blank described the layout of the classroom, blank, as a 45 to 50 person classroom, which would be arranged for the criminology class by putting desks in a circle to encourage discussion. Blank estimated the class consisted of 10 to 15 graduate students. The class was held on Wednesday from 2 to 5. Blank estimated the semester was over and classes finished around December 9th, 2022. Blank stated the seating was not arranged, but once students established a seat at the beginning of the semester, they would usually sit in the same seats. Blank stated he was one of the last people to get to the classroom, and Kohberger would similarly show up last. Due to this, Blank usually ended up sitting directly to the right of Kohberger during class. The professor's name was Blank. Blank stated most of the students in the class seemed to know each other from other classes. Blank provided an email list of all the students who attended the class. The students' names were as follows. And there's who knows how many right there. They said like 10 to 15, but I don't know if that's that many names. It probably is. It's 3 lines worth. Blank would interact with Kohberger during class occasionally, but did not have any problems personally with him. Blank described one bizarre incident which stuck out in his memory. He described the incident as occurring within the first few weeks of class between Kohberger and Blank. Blank described how Blank was stating something in class and Kohberger was attempting to correct her. He described Kohberger as over-explain. Is this the same incident? Is this the incident? Yeah, here it is. The man explaining boo-boo. Here it is. Okay. He described Kohberger as over-explaining things to Blank, then told Kohberger he was man-explaining everything to her, and she understood what he was trying to say. Kohberger then went on to explain that he was not man-explaining and started to define what man-explaining was. Due to this interaction, Blank, okay, see, did he either say that he didn't know what it was, or did he explain what it was? Because you cannot explain something if you don't know what it is. And the other report said that he said he didn't even know what mansplaining was. This one is saying that Kohberger started to explain what mansplaining was. Those are opposite. Those are opposite. Those are the opposite. Due to this interaction, Blank left the classroom during the middle of class without taking her laptop or coffee. Blank described the incident as Blank and Kohberger bickering and debating that turned very tense. Okay. On one occasion, Blank said Kohberger had a conversation just outside the classroom, which was about the classroom topics. During that discussion, Blank mentioned he needed to get heading home to make dinner for his fiancée. Kohberger replied something to the effect of, "You look really happy to be doing that. Most guys I know hate making food for their women." Blank found this to be weird. Interesting concept. Interesting comment. I'm sure plenty of guys are happy to cook for their chicks. Plenty of them. Lots of them love to do it. Blank described Kohberger as the black sheep of the cohort and very to himself. Blank described his relationship with Kohberger as more than acquaintances, but less than friends. Is there a word for that? I wasn't aware there was a... Okay. Love to know. Tell me what it's called. No idea. Blank stated he did not talk to Kohberger about many personal topics. Blank did not have much information about Kohberger's personal life. Okay, that's it. Okay. All right. We're on 112. So we have 3 left. And then we're going to shut it down for the night. This is Cody Herman. January 10th, 2023 at approximately 11:30 hours. Him and ISP Captain John Kemp interviewed somebody with year of birth 1994. This is another 28-year-old. This is a 28-year-old female. Okay, Blank has advised interviews were recorded, and she agreed to the interview being recorded. Detective Herman and Captain Kemp introduced themselves and gathered Blank's name, date of birth, phone number. Blank was advised the interview was regarding any interaction she may have had with Bryan Kohberger. Blank advised she had 1 class with Kohberger. That class was the fall 2022 semester blank. She estimated the class was from the end of August 2022 to the beginning of December 2022 on Tuesdays from 2:10 p.m. to 5 p.m. 2:10's odd. It must be that same 3-hour thing from before. Hold on one second. Okay. Yeah, but that's only if it's like that way. If it's like somebody who's not sleeping with somebody and they're like, I just don't know. Like when it comes to like something that's literally just platonic, what is there between acquaintances and friends? Because I wasn't aware that there was one when it comes to like something innocent. So that's weird. I'm not really quite sure what they mean by that, but okay. So this class is that 3-hour class that they were talking about before. She stated the students were in the first year cohort. Blank stated she was the only student enrolled in the class who was blank. The professor was blank. Well, what does this mean? Who was what? Blank stated seating in the classroom was not assigned and students would sit where they wanted. She stated at the beginning of the semester, the students would sit close together, but as the semester went on, the students were spacing out in the classroom. Blank stated she believed the reason for the students spacing out was due to distance themselves. So everyone was distancing themselves from everyone else in the room just so they can distance themselves from him. That doesn't make any actual sense. So no, that doesn't work. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Blank stated Kohberger would often interject himself in conversations with Blank. Blank stated her office was across the hall from Blank's office, and she would purposely leave their office door open to give Blank a place to go in case Kohberger would go into Blank's office. But y'all said that he would trap her and she couldn't get out. So what's the point of you keeping your door open if that's the case? That doesn't make a lot of sense either. Okay. Blank stated that after the murders, she did not notice anything out of the ordinary with Kohberger. Blank stated she did not have any interactions with Kohberger where he was rude or disrespectful to her. Blank also stated she had not witnessed any harassment. So you'd leave your doors open just in case he went in there to start bothering someone because, oh my God. But then you're going to turn around and also claim that you've never seen anything like that? Do you see how contradictorial these freaking statements are? She stated she was across the hall from their office and she would leave an office door open to give somebody a way to escape in case Kohberger went in there. But they never witnessed any harassment or anything like that. There was nothing rude or disrespectful, never saw anything. What? They're very contradictorial statements. You can't say that this is going on while then also claiming this wasn't going on. Because what? So because of this, she didn't fill out the form. Well, that's because it wasn't going on, obviously. Blank was supposed to send a full list of students in blank to Detective Herman, but no list was ever received. Of course not. Of course not. Okay. Supplement number 113. This is Sean Prosser. On January 11th, 2023, Sean Prosser, along with ISP Detective Gary Tullison, conducted an interview with blank, white male, year of birth 91, regarding his knowledge and or interactions with Bryan Kohberger. Interview took place, I'm going to assume, at the WSQ campus in Pullman. Okay. The interview began at about 10:31 and concluded at about 11:30, so an hour. Blank agreed to the interview being recorded. The recording was downloaded to a CD and provided to Moscow. Blank is a graduate student at WSU in the criminal justice program. He is a blank / classmate of Kohberger. What's this word? Why can't we know that word? Initially, Blank noted he did not interact with Kohberger outside of the academic setting, but as the interview progressed, he elaborated in greater detail these interactions. Blank referred to a specific time in late October or early November 2022, where after a class, Kohberger offered to give Blank a ride home in his white Elantra. Blank noted this event as he spent nearly 3 hours in conversation with Kohberger. Blank stated he was cautious when forming friendships or relationships with fellow students. He was concerned to ensure he was able to work closely with someone over the time of the graduate program. As a result of this caution, he took time to observe and analyze interactions with others. So it's okay for him, but not okay for Kohberger. Kohberger is a psycho killer. And it's okay for this person because he's not Kohberger. Is that what I'm getting? Okay. Blank commented he noted Kohberger would deliberately socially engineer his conversation and talking points to integrate himself within a group. You mean to try to like fit into the group so he can like get along with the people and talk about what they're talking about? That sounds normal. He specifically noted this with regard to Kohberger discussing sports. When Blank indicated he had no interest in sports, Kohberger moved to stating he had little interest in sports either. Well, he only liked baseball, according to the other report. So that is like little interest if you only like baseball. During this conversation, which was conducted in Kohberger's car in the parking lot in the parking space outside Kohberger's home. So, okay, see, this is another thing. This guy is like saying that Kohberger gave him a ride home. But in this ride home, he's hanging out with him in his car for like hours talking, which is interesting. Because that's a long time to sit and talk to somebody who you claim you don't like and is like a weirdo. I'm just saying. During this conversation, which was conducted in Kohberger's car in the parking lot and the parking space outside Blank's home, Kohberger said he had no one to really have guy talk with. He briefly talked about women and dating, noting Kohberger said he could pick up any woman he wants in bars and clubs. Blank noted he felt the inference was Kohberger did not view value in women and saw them more as articles. That's what the frick you picked up from that? That's what you picked up from that? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Blank said he felt like he was verbally kidnapped as Kohberger continued to want to talk, describing the scenario as a 3-hour conversation on a 5-minute journey. Honey, baby, you were parked outside your house. You could have said, okay, thanks for the ride. I'll talk to you tomorrow, and stepped out that dude's car anytime you wanted. You're not saying he locked you in. You're not saying the door was locked. You could have gotten out that car any moment that you wanted to. This took place outside your home. The parking space outside of Redacted Name's house. If this was outside of Kohberger's house, we would see that name there. You could have gotten out that car anytime that you wanted to. You sat in that car having this conversation because you wanted to have this conversation. Go play in the streets. Why are you lying? Don't sit here and act like that. You were perfectly fine sitting there for 3 hours talking to this man in front of your own house. See what I mean? What were your feelings before he hit the news? That's what I want to know. Because I feel like you're full of shit right now. Kohberger moved the conversation to social media and its impact on societal issues. To this end, they discussed how people align themselves within social media bubbles, which became echo chambers. Kohberger discussed politics and indicated he had predominantly conservative household values wherein traditional gender roles applied. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Blank said in his interactions with Kohberger, he never discussed his home life, his home, family, or friends, but did discuss his educational experiences at his previous college. Blank recalled Kohberger indicated a desire to work with Blank, a professor of forensic psychology and criminal justice at Blank, who has written many notable books and articles on the serial killer BTK. Yeah, see, this is an interesting statement. I saw people talking about this one because of this right here and saying that they think that it was Catherine Ramsland, but he already took a class with her. Like, he'd already, like, actually, like, she knew who he was. So, to me, to have a desire to work with would mean that this is an experience that he hasn't already had. And with Catherine Ramsland, is it Catherine Ramsland or Kathleen? It's Catherine Ramsland. He'd already, like, done that. He'd already done that. So I don't know if this is the same person or if there's another female that's done a lot of work with BTK. I don't know. But the wording here to me is odd because a desire to is different to me. I guess maybe I feel like I'm like not wording it right. I feel like he wouldn't say he had a desire to do this if this was Catherine Ramsland because he's already done it. So I don't know if this is about her or if this is just something that this idiot is putting in here because he knew that he already had a connection to her by the time this interview came out. It's hard to tell because of the verbiage that he's using. I just feel like you wouldn't use there was a desire to do something if you'd already done it. I feel like that word wouldn't be there. I feel like he would have been talking about his experience of working with her, not his want to work with her if this was about her. But the whole reference to BTK is why it's a little bit confusing. Hopefully that made sense. It makes sense in my mind. Blank described Kohberger as focused but arrogant. He wanted all his classmates to know he was the smartest guy in the room and wanted to highlight his academic prowess. Blank said the female members of the class had an innate ability to see things like character traits in people not often recognized by men. So because they're girls, they have superpowers and all the guys are stupid? They voiced that Kohberger made them uncomfortable, felt unsafe, and that he was creepy. Yet all of these other reports don't really say that much at all. There's just like one chick. Because again, the other girl that's like, I left my office door open so she could escape if he went in there. Also said, yeah, but I never saw any harassment. So then what do you think is actually going? Why are you leaving your door open then? What are you talking about? I feel like they don't even understand what they dug themselves into with this crap that they were trying to pull here. Like it can't be both. That's the problem, is that these are so inconsistent. It cannot be both. You cannot sit there and tell me that you were parked in front of your own house for 3 hours, but you were verbally kidnapped in front of your own house. Boy, step out the car. You're a man, aren't you? Get out the car, open the door, go inside your house. God damn. This is why I would just want to stay to myself, because I have like a way that my mind works now, and I just can't put up with any of the bullshit. I cannot put up with any of it. Any of the flaky, any of the inconsistent. Yeah, not even worth it. It's just not even worth it. Oh my God. Blank said he was close to filing a report to the university regarding Kohberger's behavior in the latter part of November 2022, but he didn't because the report was not anonymous. All reports are anonymous. The hell? He further commented on Kohberger's lack of sleep. How do you know? How do you know his sleep patterns? You weirdo. Y'all are all stalkers. Y'all know when he's late to class. You know when he ain't getting enough sleep. You know when he's drinking too much coffee. I think y'all all got problems. Because I have never paid this much attention to a person. that I wasn't like in a relationship with. Like, to know somebody's habits is personal. And they're like, oh, he must have only got 6 hours of sleep last night instead of 8. That's how I feel this was going. This is wild to me. This is wild to me. He further commented on Kohberger's lack of sleep, which Blank said was very apparent. He was late to lectures and would frequently get up and leave mid-lecture and come back with coffee, which was so inappropriate. How dare you? How dare you need coffee? This is hilarious. And again, all this, oh, I was gonna. Oh, yeah, I was gonna. Bitch, no, you weren't. Shut up. Sit down somewhere. Supplement number 114. These people are damn annoying. I swear. God, I'm so glad I don't work in like an office setting with people anymore, that we've been home and away from people for forever, that I don't have to like even look at that chat unless it's like a supervisor or a medical manager. And I don't have to deal. Because people are so damn ignorant. I cannot. I just absolutely can freaking not. Okay. January 11th, 2023, Senior Detective Gary Tolleson, along with ISP Senior Detective Sean Prosser. This is WSU campus again. 45-year-old white female. Is this the same lady from before, I think? Possibly. The interview was with Miss Blank, was recorded with her knowledge and permission. Sitting in on the interview with Miss Blank was Mr. Adam Malcolm, Assistant Attorney General of the Attorney General's office in Washington State. This is a different person than before. I think the other one was Bowen. I think it was Bowen. Miss Blank told us that Bryan Kohberger had been selected for the criminal justice program by a panel. Miss Blank did not sit on the selection panel. She was assigned as Kohberger's blank for his doctoral program. His assignment as a program training assistant TA was through blank and blank. Miss Blank said that she only had one interaction with Kohberger as blank because beginning in late August 2022, she began receiving complaints about Kohberger from students and staff members in the criminal justice program. Because of these complaints, Miss Blank spent a lot of time, she thought at least once a week, speaking about Kohberger during different disciplinary meetings. The meetings focused around Kohberger's interactions with fellow postgraduate students in and out of the classroom, along with his behavior around some of the criminal justice professors. Miss Blank said that Kohberger appeared to be socially awkward, but then she told us that in her experience, a lot of academics are socially awkward. However, the various complaints were about how Kohberger spoke to other staff and students, his stating of outspoken discriminatory comments, which were homophobic, ableist, all these damn trigger words on freaking Twitter, xenophobic and misogynistic in nature. Define it. I bet half them college little can't even define the damn word. He would also stare at people and stand uncomfortably close or lean over women, making them very uncomfortable. So far, it's just the one. So far, there's just like one girl that he seems to look at and stand around. It's not multiple. It's one chick. One. And we've yet to hear from her in the way that they are wording the situation. Miss Blank brought Kohberger to her office to speak to him about the complaints and attempted to get him to correct his behavior. Kohberger's response to this was his deflection of personal responsibility, saying that his comments have been misunderstood, etc. They might have been. He's autistic. It's very possible. We don't know the actual comments. We're not hearing verbatim what's being said. We're hearing 25 different stories, and now all of a sudden, homophobic, ableist, xenophobic, and misogynistic are now coming out. Are we ever going to get one story that's not like completely everywhere? Because no one has told us the actual like straight and narrow. None of these have. Kohberger indicated to Miss Blank he hoped to continue in the program and his desire to remain in the field of academia. He did tell Miss Blank that he wished to work under Blank. Blank told us that Blank's field of expertise is in sex offenses and decision-making processes of offenders. So he wanted to move, not be under Snyder. He wanted to be under somebody else. Interesting. Later that day, I transferred the interview recording to a compact disc, which I turned over to Moscow Police Department. No, yeah, that's why I already said if you're like anywhere near me, covering over me, and it's becoming a problem, I'm probably going to give you like one warning, and then I'm going to throat chop you. Get out my space, bro. You're triggering me. Get out of my space. Yeah, yeah, that's wild. But again, it's just that one, just the one. Because again, the one chick that's like, oh, I left my office door open for just in cases, then turns around in the next paragraph and says, never saw any harassment. Well, if you think that somebody is standing next to somebody and staring at them and hovering over at them and trapping them from leaving their area and like all these things, like what else would you call that? Harassment, yeah? So how are you going to sit here and say all these things, but then turn around and be like, I never saw any harassment? Can't be both. All right, we're on the last one for the night. This is supplement 115. And this is from Matthew Henley on December 5th, 2022 at approximately, so now we're back. We're going backwards. This is before they knew anything about Kohberger now. Okay, December 5th, 2022 at approximately, wow. So we don't know what time. We don't know what time. I'm going to guess 1732 hours. Idaho State Police detectives conducted an interview with blank with year of birth 2002. Ending just in time because that was like a yawn that said, this is it. You need to hurry up. You're tired. I feel it. Okay. Okay, December 5th, 2022. Okay, here we go. It's 1722 hours. Idaho State Police Detective Matthew Henley, along with Detective William Adams, followed up with tip number 6008. The tip expressed concern about an online photograph taken from what appeared to be a Halloween party where members of the blank fraternity were in attendance. In the photo, a male believed to be a member of the fraternity can be seen wearing a military-style body armor carrier, also known as a plate carrier. Attached to the front of the carrier is what appeared to be a large K-bar-style knife. The tipster read online that a K-bar knife may have been the type of weapon used in the murders and wanted to pass it on to the police. Detective Adams and I called blank at blank and asked to meet. At approximately 1732 hours, Detective Adams and I arrived at the blank house located at blank on the University of Idaho campus in Moscow, Idaho. We met with blank and showed him the photo from the tip. Blank recognized the male as blank and informed us he was a member of blank and was currently in the house. Detective Adams and I met with blank, year of birth 2002, with this phone number. Blank agreed to speak with Detective Adams and me. Blank confirmed he was in the photo from the tip indeed, and that he still had the knife he was pictured with. Blank explained his activities on the evening of November 12, 2022 as follows. Blank had an event called Colony Days that started at 8 p.m. held at the Beef Pavilion. Blank, his date, and other friends went to the Mystic Cafe in Lewiston, Idaho for dinner before the event. Blank left Colony Days and went to the blank house around 10 p.m. Blank and friends later left the house and went to a party at blank and was still there until around 1:30 a.m. Blank and friends walked back to the blank house and arrived at approximately 1:45 a.m. Blank hung out in blank room. Sometime later, blank walked to his date back to blank, then returned to the blank house. Once back home, blank hung out with other fraternity members, then went to bed. See, I'm so tired of reading blanks that my brain is trying to put a name there. Let's not, though. Blank told us he had been to the victim's house about 2 months prior with a female named Blank. Blank, a member of the blank sorority, and the blank for blank. Jesus Christ. Blank said he met Kaylee Goncalves briefly that night and one other time, also in the victim's house, with his friend named Blank. Blank claimed he had only briefly met Goncalves and did not know her or the other victims well at all. Blank claimed this was his only interaction with any of the victims. Blank consented to providing a DNA sample via swab, which Detective Adams collected. Blank's sample was later booked into evidence at the Moscow Police Department. Photos of the knife from the photo were photos of the knife from the photo were also collected. While speaking with Blank, he mentioned he and his friend Blank, with year of birth 2003, bought the knives together at a sporting goods store in Lewiston, Idaho around Christmas time in 2021. Blank told us Blank was there at the Blank house. Detective Adams and I spoke with Blank, confirmed Blank claim of buying the knives together. Blank still had the knife and consented to showing Detective Adams and me. Photos were collected of Blank's knife. Blank told us he had previously met Ethan Chapin, Blank, and Blank at the Blank formal. Blank said he and his date, Blank, went out with them to Hunga Dunga. So that was that night. Blank stated he remained there for about an hour and then left. Why is it all an hour? That's why I'm really starting to wonder that, like, if something else happened there, like if no argument happened at Sigma Chi, but something actually did go down at that formal because it was only an hour. And then apparently after the fact, Maisie was really upset about something. And that's why Ethan kept trying to get a hold of her, because she was upset about something. And I don't know any formal that lasts a freaking hour. And everyone's recollection of that night is an hour. Okay, Blank claimed he had no other contact with any of the victims. End of report. Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's it for the night. So unless I know for sure we're going to do the members only live. I'm going to try to do it earlier on in the afternoon. I have to do something at 5. So I guess just depending on what else I need to do tomorrow, I might do it before 5 or I might do it after I'm done at 5. But I feel like I probably need to do the members only live before 5 so that we can do a regular live in the evening and go over the 11-12 footage. Because we need to go back over that. We need to watch it in full as it's out there. I want to go back over the body cam footage again and compare some other things besides just the documents, but like the download stuff on the phones and stuff while they're lying to the cops. I need to look more at that damn truck at Linda Lane too. Especially with the way it shows it leaving Linda Lane at like 4:23, 4:24, but then the exact same kind of truck is pulling in at 4:26, 4:27. And as far as I can remember, there's no other way to get out of that parking lot besides having to cross back in front of King Road to get out of that spot. It's just too much. It's just too much. All right. Yeah, I'd like to read these actual reports that were filed. And I want to know how many were filed by the same person. Because it's really just that Norton chick that kind of like went crazy with everything. So I wonder if she's the one that was embarrassed in front of the entire classroom and that's why she's just got it like out for him. Because the only other one, that girl that's like was talking about him being like close to her and stuff like that, even her, she's like, but I never felt uncomfortable. So it's almost like she was like just kind of like explaining to somebody else the situation, even though she didn't really feel uncomfortable. She was just still sort of like explaining it to somebody maybe. And they're the ones who started like taking it out of context as it went. Because even she was like, I never felt uncomfortable. So then how did it turn into everyone else thinking that you were, if you're not? Like, how did it get to where it was? It's just a lot. It's just a lot to go back and forth and consider. Really? That's wild. Thank you. That's funny. What was taken down? What happened? Thank you for joining. Night, Lori. I don't know, but it was really bassy. It was really, really, really bassy. Holy crap. 7:30 on a Monday there. Woo! Woo! It's still there. I didn't take it down. It's I'm pretty sure, was it a premiere? I don't think it was a live. I put a video together. It's at the bottom of the thumbnail it says I fixed it, sort of, or something like that. It's where I slowed it down. That's another thing I need to compare because I didn't cut anything out of that. And whenever, okay, so the way that it works is you slice it like the clip, you slice it in half, and then you slice another piece to where you have like that section. That was 15 times. So there's like real time here, and then there's a slice, and in between it's this segment that was 15 sped up times 15, right? All that I did was take that and slow it down. There was nothing like cut before, there was nothing cut after. It's just that you're splicing it in order to like separate it from each other, but it doesn't remove anything. So I'm pretty sure that it was 3:44:15 or it's like 3:44 and 15 seconds, and then it just automatically goes to 21 seconds. It's 6 seconds is missing. So I need to see if it's the same in the Gray Hughes coverage that he put out, because there's no reason for it to be missing. 6 seconds is pretty big when it comes to a car coming in, a car leaving, someone being seen, a noise being heard, something important could happen in that 6 seconds. And I don't know what it could possibly be. But then again, I don't know what the Idaho Statesman did whenever they did all their edits, because they're the ones who would have had to have gone in and 15 sped up all that crap. So it's possible that they don't know what they're doing and they cut some parts out while they were trying to do all those things. That's a possibility. So if it's missing in Gray Hughes stuff, then that's going to tell me that it's the cops. But if it's in Gray Hughes' stuff, then it's going to tell me that the Idaho Stateman's people are dumb and they don't know how to edit. That's what that's going to tell me. So I need to look at it. I need to make a little bit of comparisons to things. He's somewhere. He fell. Where'd he go? I think he's in my bathroom. I keep that because my daughter's name is Ariel. So I always, oh, he's right here. Oh, I thought I moved him. He's right here. Was my head in the way? I just moved him. He usually is right here. He was in the bathroom yesterday because he fell. I guess I put him back and like didn't even realize it, but he's right here. I put him up here for my kid. Well, plus there's a mermaid right there. That's why he's normally right here, next to the mermaid. Yeah, it takes 5 seconds. The car that did the 3-point turn hit the curb, did it? Lana noticed when it made the final turn, the car was sped up too. Was it? I'll have to look at it. I know that when I watched it come forward and then like back up a little bit and then again, like move again, I'm telling you right now, that damn thing's a manual. The way that it sounds when it shifts, the way that it went back before moving forward, to me, that's a manual transmission vehicle. I have always felt like it could easily have been the guy with the green car that was leaving, forgot something, maybe thought that he could back up and turn around in the road, realized he couldn't real quick, and then did the 3-point turn and then went back and got whatever he forgot. I really felt like that could possibly be it, because that car sounds not like an automatic. And again, if they have footage that shows Molly pulling into the parking lot at King Road and then apparently has another car coming in right behind her that they're claiming is SV1, if they have something that close, why are you telling me you had to use a video camera down at Ridge Road to identify your suspect's vehicle? But your suspect's vehicle is supposed to also be on this footage. What? That don't make no sense. That don't make no sense. So, even though I can't stand gray pubes, if he does get the footage, if he does have the footage, we're going to talk about it because that's the footage I've been wanting to see. So, if the rumors are true on Twitter that Steve Goncalves has this and then Gray Hughes ends up with it, then we're going to know that where it came from. But I've been telling my buddy here lately, I don't really know if it's Steve at this point. It could be Steve. I know that Steve admitted a long time ago during all the TikTok drama with Brett Norton that he had something closer than Linda Lane. And that's whenever he sent her a screenshot of the 1112 porch. That's the first time that we knew that they physically had that stuff. And he said that the noises on that camera didn't match Linda Lane's, and that's why he didn't believe Linda Lane. But the beeping that we hear in certain times at Linda Lane that I thought could have been the DoorDash car because of the timing literally being on the freaking dot of her being there. We don't hear that beeping in the 1112. So I don't know what vehicle it could be. It could be somebody on the street over, maybe. Something maybe behind the apartments. But it matched up with the DoorDasher's time, and then we don't hear that in the 1112. We don't hear the beeping of like the fob locking the car and things like that. So what can be heard on Linda Lane versus what can be heard on the 1112 cameras? I don't know. I don't know how much Linda Lane would have considering how different it is. I know that they're saying that it's like an echo chamber or echo bowl or something like that, but I don't know. Something about Linda Lane feels like really off now. Because we see that truck leaving at 4:23, but it's pulling into the neighborhood on this other camera at 4:27, 4:26. It's the same deep bubble rumble. It's got the same like cab on the back of the truck like type looking thing. Or the bed cover, whatever the frick you call it. Yeah, we got to go through all that stuff. There's so much. We got to go through it and actually like try to piece those pieces together. Yeah, it came from Gray though. It all came from Gray Hughes. He's like the only one with it for some freaking reason. For some freaking reason. Yeah. Well, that's because she was getting most of her misinformation from him. I don't know why he felt the need to come out here and say a whole bunch of crazy stuff. I mean, this stuff is bad enough. Mansplaining commercials? They do commercials for that? That's great. That's the truth right there. That's the truth right there. So much shit. Literal shit. This case is literal shit. If I'm telling you right now, if he would have come out with this bullshit that happened in July and suddenly they would have found the weapon and it's because he told them where it was, then all of this energy would be going to explain how. Put it all together. Okay, let's find out exactly when they actually found this POS. And I have yet to see a damn thing. He has crap behavior because his mom was probably soft as shit on him because he was messed up in the head a little bit from his visual snow and his autism and all these things. And she probably babied him and maybe didn't teach him manners the way that she maybe should have. But it's also sort of hard to like make those certain things stick into somebody's mind that's autistic. Sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. They explain things certain ways that they can't help. So while, yes, it is on the parents up to a certain extent, there is personality traits and certain things that also do take over. There should be boundaries that are known. That's a given, regardless of whatever. If you're capable, able-bodied, and smart the way that he is, there should be things that are known, or things that should be at least something that is maybe something that he has to gradually step into to understand. Or maybe after a while he sort of does get it, but sometimes those things just aren't taught to people. Sometimes people just aren't taught those things. Or sometimes they are and they just don't stick. I mean, it really just depends. But that you always have to consider the autism here, because that's something that they've talked about since his childhood. And I really kind of wonder if maybe it was a lot of the reason why he was able to fall into something so hard at such a young age. Because of his autism, he stayed away from the crowds, but also wanted to be accepted. But maybe it was easier to persuade that situation because of his autism And maybe because he hyper focuses on things, it was easy for him to become an addict because of his hyperfixation. There's so much here. Like, even if he magically found some way to do any of this, I just want to know the how. And I don't care about like what Bill Thompson said about some profiler that was like, you're never going to be able to understand it. It won't make any sense to somebody like me and you. Well, try me. And honestly, does it need to make sense to anybody? If it is true, it doesn't need to make sense. It just needs to be said. And yet here we hear nothing. We hear nothing. We get no details. We get no connection. We get no answers from the people that are supposed to have the answers. And if we're this aggravated with it, where we're staying up until almost 1 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning trying to go through documents and think about things, how do you think the families actually feel at the back end? Like, I know that they can't be like the way that they are in the public in private. There's no way. God, there's no way. Maybe the Chapins. Something about her has always just been so cover-uppy. So we have to keep our name polished and sparkling no matter what. We can't let anything tarnish it. No matter how bad it gets, we have to find a way to keep the sparkle, even if it means going from triplets to twins and acting like he doesn't exist anymore. I think they just use the Goncalves' loudness in two ways. For their own benefit, because it caused chaos that covered up what was really happening. That whole look here instead of here thing. But also they used it as an excuse to keep the Goncalves at bay too. Because they were like instantly, like, the book really, when it comes to that Chief Fry and like some of the people that talked to them like felt about the Goncalves, you can tell that they had just like a disdain for that family. Like early on. So I felt like they allowed Steve's chaos because it masked a lot of the bullshit, but they also could use it as an excuse to keep him away. I've been saying for a long time, they do a lot of this about people out here on the internet, but they use it. They fuel it. They use it. It's a tool for them. They use this as a tool. They always have. Ever since they realized that they could, they use this as a tool. So they can complain about it all they want to. They use social media to their benefit, whether it be to get information or to cause misinformation so that other things aren't noticed. Like when that, what was his name? Was it the cop? The cop? No, he wasn't even a cop. Whatever the guy's name was, whatever his affiliation was, I don't even remember the whole freaking story. The guy that put on the horrible face mask and dressed up like a cop and shot like a bunch of politicians in their houses, that guy from like a couple months ago, they came out and did this press conference talking about all this stuff that was going on that wasn't really going on. Like, it really didn't have any updates on anything. It was just basically the same information over and over again. But they put on this huge press conference while they were in the field, like getting this dude, like he was on his hands and knees coming out and like surrendering. Once they realized like where he was and that they were about to get him, they put on a press conference to distract the public so that they could arrest him without the public knowing until afterwards. Like they use people's want of knowledge for this kind of stuff and constant need for answers because nothing makes any sense. They use it. It's gross. They use it. They use it. All right, let me see so I don't miss anything, and then we're going to be done. It's time for some sleep. Welcome, Meemaw Fox. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for the $3, Kay Smith. I want to thank you for taking time to read these with us. No problem. I feel like I can understand it better whenever I'm having a dialogue about it anyway and then reading it out loud. So it's just as much for my benefit if you want to be so serious. 3 months. Finally catching up. Wanted to show some love. 3 months, 3 months. Thank you for being here. Thanks for the $2 shenanigans. Thank you for the 2 Wicked, Wild, and Wise. Seems to me Brian was just trying to fit in. To an extent, yeah. Like if he is going up to like a crowd or trying to be like in a group and they're talking about something, they would consider him rude and conceited and boisterous and full of himself if he showed up in the crowd and just changed the subject and demanded everybody talk about what he wanted to talk about. But instead, he tries to acclimate and talk about what the group is talking about and be a part of the conversation, and they're marking that as something bad. Like it feels like no matter what, no matter the direction, no one was going to win. There was always going to be something that somebody had something to say something about. That's how it felt. That's just how it feels. Thanks for the 2, David Clayton, $270 in dollars. You went ahead and like did it for me. That's like, I don't even honestly look at that. I just appreciate the fact that you guys are here. Period. I never do the what you doodlers because it yeah. It's something that y'all did. I don't want to go in and even check that stuff. I'm just grateful for y'all being here. I hear manscaping. Instead of mansplaining. Yeah, that's a new word. That's why. It's a crazy new word. Newish word. Newish word. Okay. Taiwan. That's awesome. That's too cool. I did. I did. I had to go in and fix it. Okay. Time for sleep. I need some chamomile tea. I'm so tired. But we're gonna go through these because we have to. Y'all get some rest. Tomorrow is Monday. Own that Monday. Own that Monday. All right, let me go ahead and put this out here. Please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. All right, you guys, have a great night. See you guys tomorrow. See y'all.